Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Happy draft to all who celebrate and observe this very, very fun religion that we've all decided to follow. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray and Perloff. Pearl, you've said this is one of your top 2 favorite days of the year. And I'm curious if this is going to turn into a great day for Shedeur Sanders. Is this going to be the day he remembers as my pre-draft stuff got a little wonky, got a little weird. People fell in love with me, then out of love with me the more they studied my film. And do I end up persevering through that because teams need quarterbacks so much? Or this sort of very late in the process cliff, slide, drop, whatever you want to call it, is that what we're going to remember this draft for?
Yeah, no, this is the Shedeur Sanders draft. There's no doubt about it. It seems like 1, 2, 3, for example, are totally set. Everyone knows Cam Ward, the quarterback out of Miami, will go number 1 in Tennessee. So there's no drama on that front. That's been set. So what else are people going to focus on? It's got to be the next quarterback and Shedeur Sanders. Now, to be fair, there are a lot of draft experts who did not have him ranked highly coming into this thing.
That is true.
Yeah, it was basically like he's the second best quarterback, but it's not a great quarterback class.
Right.
Because of that formula.
Always had the caveat.
Yeah, they always had the caveat. Because of that formula, you could almost see him going anywhere. We were joking yesterday, you could go from number 3 to the Giants to number 57 to whoever. There's such a wide range of outcomes. But there's a lot of negatives working against him. I mean, there's a lot.
Right.
Let's talk about the fact that he's not huge. So immediately you have to be perfect as a prospect if you're not going to be big. His dad is Deion Sanders. I do not think that's
that's number 2. You don't think that's further
I think it's
down
number
on the
2.
list?
I think it's absolutely number 2.
Okay.
Imagine, okay.
Well, he can't help that, you know.
I know he can't help that, but
it's not his fault.
You're a coach. You're bad enough to need a quarterback. You are going to draft a kid whose father is a very successful college coach who has said, I will only go to the NFL to coach my son. You do not want Deion Sanders hanging around. I think that there are a lot of GMs and coaches who think, well, Deion's going to come in here and clean house in 2 years because he wants to coach his son. He's always coached his son. He's followed him around. They've followed each other. I think that's a huge factor, and I just think Deion is such a huge force that he adds pressure. If you're on the fence about Shedeur, then why would you bring that into the building?
Okay, but you know what? I know there's a lot of reasons why teams pass on certain guys and take certain guys. It's not a perfect science, and boy, do we know that. But that makes the whole draft seem a little fugazi, does it not? Like, think about it. I know that Shedeur is not a perfect prospect. If he was a perfect prospect, teams will be lining up whether his dad's Shedeur or whether his dad is Joe Smith. It doesn't matter. Yeah. And not the Joe Smith that went to Maryland. You know what I'm talking about. not Maryland star Joe Smith. Joe Schmo, put it that way. But it kind of feels to me like that's such a weak reason. Now, I understand that people are trying to save their jobs. I get it. That's probably the number one thing. If you're the Cleveland Browns front office, if you are the Giants front office, if there are these things that have been mandated, dictated, you work for an owner that's a little bit, unpredictable. Say you work in Indianapolis. I don't know, whatever these wild card owners are. But, to me, that's weak sauce. Because I think we would denigrate a draft prospect if, let's say, there was a high profile person in front of them and they didn't want to even compete. Say the roles were reversed and Shedeur, and you had to sit behind a quarterback because they had, a famous last name. You didn't even want to compete with them. I think we would call that out as a character flaw of the player. Why wouldn't we call that out as a flaw of the front office? Why wouldn't we call that out as a flaw of the coach? If you really think the Deion-ness of this is actually that big of a deal, that means you have weak head coaches and you have weak front offices anyway. And you know what? You're bound to get fired no matter what because you're not cut out for this.
Well, the thing is, you're looking at a bunch of prospects who are about equal. That's the issue. You're looking for anything. What's the difference between Shedeur Sanders and the number 3 tackle in the class? There's nothing. They were talking about a razor's edge in this draft. So I think you're weighing factors. I'm sure they're looking at Shedeur. They're like, we could take Shedeur Sanders or we could take this other need, and it's about the same. That's the point. If Shedeur Sanders was way better than these other prospects, then you're right. We wouldn't be having this debate. But they're looking for, we're in the margins here. We're looking at the tiny details, and that's a detail.
If only it were that simple. Because you're saying an offensive lineman and a quarterback are same in a talent evaluation. It's just not true.
Well, yeah, baby, a top quarterback.
Yeah, but the quarterback's the most important position, so it's weighted. It's weighted on a scale. So they're not. It's not apples to apples.
I mean, if you had Shedeur Sanders as far as quarterback prospect versus a left. I mean, obviously the left tackle is a much better prospect. So the quarterbackness of Shedeur moves him way up. So even with the quarterbackness, he's about an equal prospect with, say, the number 7 pick or something.
Yes. Okay.
So I'm saying at the end of the day, let's take Pittsburgh at 21. Pittsburgh has a ton of needs. They think Shedeur is good, not great, but they might have a wide receiver or a lineman or somebody who they have great, not good. Then you're going to say, well, all things are equal. Do I want Shedeur in the building? And Pittsburgh is a team that can afford that because they have a veteran coach and Mike Tomlin's been there forever. So I do think the situation matters. But look at Kellen Moore in New Orleans. He's trying to reboot this franchise. Does he really? I mean, I hear what you're saying. Maybe it is weak sauce, but it's also reality. Does Kellen Moore really want Deion Sanders hanging out in New Orleans and all his celebrity friends that he had at Colorado coming to watch those games? He wants to quietly rebuild this team from the ashes in New Orleans.
This is Kellen Moore's actually very concerned about Warren Sapp just like showing up at the office. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, he's going to
now assistant coach at Colorado and Marshall Faulk.
Well, he does not want Kevin Hart and Will Smith and The Rock on the sideline when they are losing 42-26 to Atlanta. I just think that this is not.
What was that crew you put together? Kevin Hart, Will Smith, and Chris Rock. I don't think Will Smith and Chris Rock are hanging out.
No, The Rock.
Oh, The Rock. I'm sorry.
Who was it? Colorado.
Yeah, you're right. The Rock.
The Rock.
Was Will Smith never Colorado? Did I make that part up? I know
I
it was
remember Will Smith, but
Kevin Hart was there too, I think.
Will Smith's the only one I actually fear because of what he did to Chris Rock at the Oscars. He will smack you across the face.
It was definitely Kevin Hart was there too. So Colorado, I mean, listen, if
Lil
Shedeur
Wayne was there too.
Well, Lil Wayne, but Lil Wayne has actually got, now he's going
Mr.
another
New
direction.
Orleans.
He's Mr. No, but he's following Travis Hunter around. He might even root for the Browns next year. So there's a battle over Lil Wayne's heart. I've been hearing that's out there for NFL fans. But generally, you're going to have a lot of attention in New Orleans. I just think, I mean, come on. I understand what you're saying. It's a good point. It's a weak sauce to not be confident. But the reality of the situation for Kellen Moore, this first-time coach who looks like he's 12 years old in New Orleans, that's a lot to bring in for a quarterback who is marginally better, probably not as talented as Derek Carr. Derek Carr just can't stay healthy.
Right.
Like, you're going to bring all that in to be average.
Well, I mean, I got a news flash here for Kellen Moore, not to sound like, middle school teacher here, but news flash, there's a good chance that he was probably hired to be fired anyway, because I'm just saying a lot of coaches don't last that long. You know, I think the average lifespan of a coach right now is like 3 years. And I'll tell you what, I'd rather have the buzz and excitement and, clean slate, blank slate of a Shedeur than I have Spencer Rattler, who I'm probably going to get judged. Just let's say Derek Carr's shoulder is so hurt. I'm probably going to get judged on that. And if I can't make him good, then all of a sudden now I'm, bottom of the draft again. And I'm like, am I on the hot seat?
Well, yeah, that's a great, right. Are you sort of tanking? Are you quietly tanking? And if you're a first-year coach, can you really tank without getting fired? I'll bet you he can. I bet, listen, that's the other thing. One more thing about this draft is this is not about the 2025 class. It's also about the 2026 class.
Next year.
So if you're New Orleans, that's killing Shedeur. I think a lot of people are looking, why is Shedeur falling? People are saying, well, we got these big names, Cade Klubnik, Drew Aller, I don't know. These big names. Yeah, it's an opportunity. If you take Shedeur now, that means you might not have a chance to take a quarterback next year.
Right.
So every situation is unique, but that's what I'm saying. There's a lot working against Shedeur. It's not just how do I view him as a prospect.
Garrett Nussmeier, whose dad works for the New Orleans Saints right now. Doug Nussmeier, who we all remember. Okay, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Do you think that Shedeur, how big is the Deion effect? Here we are.
Yep.
Draft's here. This is all happening tonight. How big is the Deion effect? Because I'm starting to think it's actually a smaller slice of the pie than people think, right?
Okay.
Like, because I think you've had to get comfortable with this.
Yeah.
And, here's the thing also about Deion, and this is taking it in a totally different tentacle, and I do want to play this Todd McShay sound because he's got good stuff here. Deion has said he wants to coach his son in the NFL, but you know what? The Dallas Cowboys had a chance for Deion, and they said no for Brian Schottenheimer, and maybe that's Jerry's MO. But there could have been other teams who were interested in Deion. He's a known commodity and a known factor.
Yep.
I'm not actually even sure if Deion's a great X's and O's coach, which I think you have to be in the NFL when the margins are very, very slim.
Well, you don't think Deion Sanders is sitting there? Of course he's not a great X's and O's coach.
Right. So
he brought in 17 former NFL coordinators. What do you think they were doing? He'll hire guys to do the X's and O's.
So here's the thing, though. But, yeah, you can farm out a lot in the NFL, too. I get that. And you rely on your coordinators. Hell, your Philadelphia Eagles, I think, are relying on him quite a bit. No disrespect, Nick Sirianni, Super Bowl winning head coach.
There are vibes guys, Mag.
There are vibes guys. There are leaders of men. There are all that stuff.
Yeah.
But, when push comes to shove, I don't know how many NFL teams are actually going to be knocking down the door for Dion.
Ooh, you don't think if Shedeur maybe not now, but you don't think that somebody would take a flight? You could be right because they're not even going after Belichick. But I kind of disagree. I think that Dion, if he has another good year at Colorado, watch out. All
right. I feel like I watched some of the end of those Colorado games, and some of them, they're pulling out miraculously, and some, didn't go their way. I'm like, man, this clock management and stuff like that. It's like that should be kind of easier, air quotes, on the college level for coaches. That gets much harder at the NFL level.
Yeah, but I mean, Andy Reid's still the worst clock manager in the NFL, and he's
Mike McCarthy probably going to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Andy Reid's about to set the all-time win record.
Yeah, but Shedeur's not Patrick Mahomes.
You know, one thing, by the way, that's a big if. Can Dion have another good year with Colorado? Because he's losing Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. So I think he could prove, if he did go very well, I think it's dependent on how he does. But, yeah, I understand your point.
So how big is the Dion factor, I think, is the question today. So, actually, first, can I hear from Jonathan Jones? Let's go to one insider, then we'll go to the next insider. We got lots of insiders weighing in. Jonathan Jones, love him, friend of the show, worked with him at SI, salt of the earth dude, said the scouting breakdown is weighing more than any character issues that have to do with Sanders. By character, I think we mean Dion, like the fame aspect, not red flags character.
All those things start to add up a little bit before you even get to any sort of interviews and how he made me feel at a combine interview or at a pro day or how he carries himself, whatever you want to say about that.
Okay, so it's more about that. Let's hear more from Jonathan. Can I get cut to, Manny? Jonathan Jones breaks down why most teams actually have a second-round grade on Shedeur.
More teams than not that I speak to tell me that they have a second-round grade on Shedeur Sanders. Why? Well, he has an average relatively arm. He has average, relatively athleticism. You're talking about getting drafted in the first or second day of the NFL draft. You are an incredible athlete. You compare it to your dad or you compare it to other fantastic quarterbacks in this draft, it's average. You consider his completion percentage, very high, very accurate. Now break it down and see how many of those throws were at or behind the line of scrimmage. All of these things and you had the Heisman Trophy winner that you were throwing to.
Yeah, I think Jonathan is actually making really good points here. I think if you keep it about the football, listen, this is what the draft process is about in a lot of ways. You're actually finding reasons not to draft a guy than finding reasons to draft them, right? That's a mentality. It's not because you're denigrating the person. You're like, all right, let's say I'm like this. I'm a worst case scenario person. You guys know this. Perloff's oddly the doomsday prepper, and I'm not. But I'm a glass half empty person sometimes. I'm always thinking, okay, if everything goes wrong, what do I do? That's always like my default. And I think if I was an NFL GM, in fact, I know I would operate this way. I'd be like, all right, how do we get past the average arm strength? Can we overcome, all the throws that were at or behind the line of scrimmage? So I kind of get where Jonathan's talking about from a football aspect.
I don't buy it for half a second. There's no way. I watched Shedeur Sanders play. He was flinging it all over the yard. I mean, he was awesome in Colorado. So I haven't understood this. I mean, our good buddy NFL's Lance Zierlein said the same thing. A lot of really smart NFL analysts and kind of scout types say this, but get out of here. Watch a Colorado game. There's no way you could say that he had average arm strength. Like, he was ripping it all over the field. So that doesn't make any sense to me. I still don't understand this. And it's consistent. It's not just Jonathan.
Yeah.
That doesn't have elite skills. I'm not sure I just don't understand. Maybe it's because they were against weak competition, but I saw him be a great college football quarterback. And listen, I thought Kenny Pickett was a great college football quarterback too, so what do I know? But he was clearly wildly successful in college. So it's hard for me to put the two together.
Yeah, I thought I saw that too. I'm not going to lie. Like, I mean, I thought we were going through this whole thing and it was like, yeah, Shedeur's the second best quarterback in the draft. It's like, well, maybe is he even one? Okay, probably not one. Cam Ward has the traits and, bigger and the arm angles and all that, the athleticism and whatever.
I do understand what he said. One thing, football, Travis Hunter made up for a lot of this. That's like when you have a great quarterback, is it the receiver, the quarterback?
Yeah, but it hasn't stopped Alabama and Ohio State quarterbacks from getting drafted really high.
Joe Burrow was throwing to Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. So, yeah, I understand. Listen, Jonathan knows way more about what's going on. I'm sure that scouting report is accurate, but I don't totally understand it. Because we saw a lot of success in Colorado. It's hard as a it's hard to reconcile that. I feel like there's more going on than just the talent.
Okay, well, I'm glad you said that because let's get to Todd McShay. So Todd McShay is working for the Ringer now, but you remember him and Mel Kiper always Todd, always going at it. I'm excited for a little Kiper tonight.
Todd.
I love Kiper and like this small dose of this one weekend.
The best.
Okay, can I hear cut 5, please, first? So Todd McShay saying that the Shedeur Sanders interview with the New York Giants apparently did not go well.
Shedeur Sanders is a good young man. Shedeur Sanders has always been respectful and everything else. Some interviews didn't go well, including with the New York Giants, I'm told now.
Okay, just a little for context. It turns out, and I've been hearing this lately, that McShay and Brian Daboll apparently go back pretty far. So you'd have to expect, unless Daboll's using him to try to get this out as a smokescreen, you have to imagine that the intel's pretty good. More from McShay about certain comments that Dion made about Eli Manning may have hurt Shedeur Sanders.
Coach Prime came out and said it himself. I'm gonna handpick, the places that my son can go play for. Well, what happens when you got it's not a small pool, but it's not as big as 32 teams, and only so many teams need quarterbacks. And it just so happened that a bunch did in that top 10, 6, but after throughout the process, after the combine, some of the meetings didn't go well. I told you I talked to 2 executives. Didn't go well. So now the pool shrinks. And now I'm here to tell you that it didn't go well with Brian Daboll, and it didn't go well with the Giants organization.
Okay, can we hear more from that about and then pulling in the Eli comments? I want to hear that one, please, Manny. Go ahead. That was it? Okay. Was it really pulling in Eli?
He said we're not going to go to all the teams.
Oh, okay. I thought he actually says it at pulling in Eli. I mean,
that was Deion Sanders' quote. Remember, he said we're going to pull Eli.
Also, remember there was the Louis Riddick, the ESPN analyst who's friends with Deion, said that it'd behoove Shedeur to fall past certain spots in the draft and to go to a better team later on. So there was this idea that Deion and the Shedeur Sanders camp want to steer him away from some of those bad teams. I thought that might be Cleveland, for example. But yeah, so there is the idea that I was actually thinking, well, maybe Shedeur threw an interview or two.
You did say that right after the combine.
I didn't come up with that. That was the Riddick really said that leaned at, By the way, all these negative reports about these interviews, is it possible that Shedeur doesn't want to go to certain teams? Well,
that's possible, but I think that things done change, because at the beginning of this draft process, it kind of felt like, after Cam Ward, maybe the world's your oyster here, and you're going to have teams sort of lining up. And then it slowly became the more reality, like, oh, maybe they don't love me. So that could have, if that is indeed true, say he tanked some interviews, which I don't believe, but let's say he did. Boy, that backfired.
Yeah, and then Deion had to come out and correct he said, we're totally into all these teams. And he said it in a pointed way as if there was a perception that wasn't true.
He specifically said, we love New York. Remember that when he was on stage at that conference in Chicago for supply chain people or something non-sports? He's like, we love New York. We love New York. We thought maybe it was the Jets.
I do think in the history of draft, I bet you there are players who have tanked interviews because they don't want to go to certain teams. I'll bet you that's a thing because I think first of all, you've been in the combine, right? It's crazy. You're so much time. Yeah, I understand you have to be confident, but I do think that you probably don't want to go to Cleveland or you probably don't want to go to a cold weather team. I think it happens. And if you're a quarterback, honestly, let's pull back for a second. Shedeur would be well served not to go to certain teams. It's important for him to end up with the right coach in the right situation. You could be, you could go to the wrong team and you're screwed. I get it. Deion, I think, is very smart. I think he understands I want to get my son into the right situation.
Yeah, so much is up to chance now, though. Yeah, to come out and say, we planned it the whole time, wherever he ends up landing, that might be stretching things a little. Last one here from McShay. Very confident the Giants and also the Saints will not take Shedeur.
Shedeur Sanders is not going to be a New York Giant. Shedeur Sanders is not going to be a New Orleans Saint. Okay? So let's just address that now. We said to you the week after the combine that I was surprised that other networks weren't reporting what the information that came to me so easily.
So this has been around for a while. Listen, if it's not going to be the Giants and if it's not going to be the Saints, then you're really looking at those Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
Hard at 21.
Yep, and that's a lot depending on one spot.
Well, the other part, too, about Pittsburgh, let's not forget, they don't have a second-round pick right now because they traded it for DK Metcalf.
Yep,
So the whole idea of, we could get back up into the first round if we just do swap seconds or whatever, that is probably not likely for them.
How about Cleveland? There's some not quite reports, but opinions that maybe Cleveland trades back in for Shedeur or waits on Shedeur at 33, I believe. I haven't heard anything negative coming out about Cleveland and Shedeur, and they sure as heck need a quarterback, as you pointed out from day one.
Yeah, that's true. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. We get it going. How much of the Shedeur perceived fall do you think has to do with Deion? Like 100%?
Well,
50?
But let me ask. I have a question related to that, a side question that I'll save. But it's not just about Deion; it's about father and son.
Okay. Get to that. Want to hear from you. Other thing that came out last night. I love this kind of stuff when this happens on the doorstep of the draft. Someone's family member weighing in. Did someone blow their team's cover because a family member got a little anxious for a couple clicks? A little clout. Get to that next. This is so fun. It's the Maggie and Perloff Show. Come on board.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie Perloff Show. We have some NBA to break down from last night, a key injury. But I want to play a little role-playing here, Mag.
Okay.
I'm going to assign you to be a middle-aged NFL assistant coach.
Okay.
You're comfortable with this? You don't look comfortable.
I'm just thinking, do I work for the Cowboys or do I work for the
You came
Rams?
up through JUCO, the MAC, you were just
I'm a
normal
grinder.
You're a grinder.
Okay.
You're a grinder. Absolutely.
So I'm not no silver spoon in my mouth.
No,
I'm not
your
a
last
Nepo
name
baby.
is not Schottenheimer or
Okay.
Shanahan.
I'm a grinder. I'm a tape grinder.
Now, okay, there are two quarterback prospects come in.
Yeah.
One is a kid who was actually a basketball product in Texas who went to Incarnate Word.
Yeah.
Then transferred to the only smaller place in America, Washington State.
Yeah.
Pullman. And then had a good year in Miami. Has never really said anything that anyone remembers about anything. Very kind of quiet. The other has a gigantic podcast with massive A-list stars on it. Wears fancy jewelry, has millions and millions in the bank, is in a Gatorade commercial, and his dad is Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
Would you think that one of those might be entitled and one might not be entitled?
My question, if I'm really a grinder and I've worked my whole life to get here, while I might recognize Cam Ward's story is close to my own, I've been in this game long enough to just know who's better and who's going to keep me employed.
But there was a report that Shedeur Sanders came off as entitled. I know I know these people in the NFL.
Yeah.
Of course they thought he was entitled.
But is that real or is that their bias?
That's their bias. But guess what? There's nothing fair about the NFL draft process. Fair is not what it should be, does not make the slightest difference. NFL teams have been doing things the same way, and they have an impossible time. They're going to have so much trouble adjusting to drafting millionaires at NIL era.
Okay.
They are not going to know what to do. They're old school. So I think these reports about Shedeur Sanders are accurate in the sense that I do think a lot of NFL teams view him as entitled, and he's incredibly confident. He doesn't put up with crap.
Sure.
He's very charming in interviews.
By the way, generally things we like.
Well, yeah, except not NFL teams. They do not like this stuff.
So
they like the quiet, just happy to be here type. That's a mistake. It never works out that way. But they generally, I do think that a lot of NFL people probably view him as entitled. It's not fair. I'm not saying it's fair,
right?
But I get that perception.
Yeah, instead of saying he came off as entitled, say my perception was that he was entitled. I think that there's another thing too. You just hit on it. Coaches are going to have to adjust here to guys having some money in the bank. But, as when I worked with Bart Scott, he always told me the money doesn't change you. It just makes you more of what you already are.
Right. Which is, in Shedeur's case, is big personality.
Well, or used to it. Maybe a little actually unfazed by it. I mean, the whole watch thing, that's a bit. He's having fun with that. And by the way, the rest of professional sports took that and ran with it. He's almost just like a cultural tastemaker in a way, which is also not a flaw.
Right. You could view it as confidence, which is probably the most important thing for a quarterback. You're right.
Totally. And here's the other part, too. I'm a little surprised. And I know Deion's different because he's literally coaching at high college level like FBS. But generally, throughout my life covering sports, and I think yours too, we generally love the offspring of great players. Like, we're going to talk to Clay Matthews coming up later in the show. We're super excited about drafts in Green Bay. He's a Packers Hall of Famer. I think it helped Clay Matthews that his uncle was in the Hall of Fame and his dad maybe.
Totally disagree with this take.
I think Patrick Surtain having his dad be this famous. I think that we generally say, all right, Joey Porter and Joey Porter Jr., your dad knows what it takes to be on a professional level. And by the way, sometimes your mom at this point, you know, JaVale McGee. I remember watching Pam all those years. You know what it takes to be a pro. And I think that's generally looked at as a positive, yet Shedeur, it's a negative.
I disagree in one sense. You want the dad to be a good to above average journeyman type. You do not want him to be a superstar. And by the way, JaVale McGee, you should pull that out of that take because that's not exactly how to be a professional. JaVale McGee, the biggest knucklehead to ever come to the NBA.
Well,
I love JaVale McGee, probably my favorite player
Was
ever.
it Jalen
NBA
Suggs,
champion.
right? Jalen Suggs, his mom was whose mom is the coach at Notre Dame?
Jaden Ivey.
Jaden Ivey, thank you.
So the best guys are, you want Joe Bryant to Kobe Bryant. You want Del Curry to Steph Curry. You don't want LeBron James to Bronny James. You don't want Michael Jordan to Michael Jordan Jr.
Well, Clay Matthews worked out pretty well, and his
but
dad
you said
was
big
awesome.
stars. His dad is not LeBron. So I think I've actually thought about this formula. You want a really good, Patrick Mahomes' dad. You want a good pro, a kind of a journeyman who's been around. It just seems to work out that way. I always wondered about Steph Curry. I remember watching Del Curry. I was like, that wasn't same. I think that formula works just as well. But I hear what you're saying.
But Klay Thompson, his dad was the number 1 overall pick.
Oh my God! I'm talking about LeBron, Dion. You can't compare Michael Thompson to Dion. You can't compare who is it? Patrick Surtain's dad to Dion. You're big star. Patrick Surtain could walk. His father could walk in right now and nobody would know him. I'm just saying, Dion is a massive thing. It's different. It's like being Bronny.
I think it's generally looked at as being a positive. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476, which does speak to just how different Dion is. Bill's in Houston. Bill, what do you think? How big is the Dion factor in Shedeur maybe slipping in the draft?
Well, I think Shedeur is a blessed young man because he had a father that cared about him. However, I would think at 22 years old and a college graduate that Dion would want his son to be ready for some level of independence, and I'm afraid that's just not fair. And as an NFL team, would you have a kid that you're going to have a constant distraction from his father, but can the kid grind and can he learn an NFL system, and is he coachable? On the other hand, we're very proud of Cam Ward down where I live. He comes from where I live, and his dad's a plant worker. And he made it on his own, and he's a grinder, and he overcame not being a passing quarterback in high school. So I think he's got the right stuff. I'm all for Shedeur being successful in the NFL, but I very much worry about the impact of his father.
Bill, it's a really good point. Thank you for making it. But I just want to posit something and pose something. Up until Bronny and what we saw where Bronny got drafted in the second round was not deserving of that spot, and we can all agree. Generally, nepotism, and the nepo baby era that we're in kind of fell flat when it came to performing on the field. Coaching, no doubt. The business world, absolutely. You can have this leg up if you have a famous father or mother. But I always felt like sports was the great equalizer, almost until Bronny got here. There's a thing about Shedeur, either he's going to sink or swim. You know, there's nothing that Dion can do when he's in the huddle and has to make a decision in 0.5 seconds before he gets his head taken off by Myles Garrett. You know, there's no one can help you there. No one can go into the boardroom and hold your hand. No one can go in the coach's room and hold your hand. Nepotism, when it comes to the athletic part of it, I always thought was different. And then obviously the Bronny, kind of changed that.
But I do think you're getting into parenting issues too. People criticize parents for being too involved. Shedeur's never had another coach. I actually had to fight the urge to be an umbrella parent and follow my kid around the playground because I was so afraid they were going to get hurt. I think at a certain point, Bill's hitting at this. Another question about Shedeur that no one else has is he's never had another coach. It's a very unusual situation. That's why I'm saying there are little things that seem to be working against Shedeur when you put him as a quarterback at an equal evaluation. And by the way, teams are wrong all the time. They're going to miss left and right. Sure. I'm just saying, I think this is how teams think. I'm not saying it's right. I'm sure they're screwing this up. I'm positive they're getting this draft wrong. I mean, look, there's a reason the same teams draft in the top 5 every single year because they have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
So they're going to make mistakes. We can't treat this draft process like the teams know what they're doing. But I do think that teams look at Shedeur and be like, you know what? There's too many red flags, mostly because of his dad.
Yeah. I mean, and that's, again, it's the lens you're looking at. He's never played for anyone but his dad. So, but why do we assume it's a negative? You know, maybe he wants to play for someone else.
Because there's risk there. Because you don't know how he'll respond to another coach. So by definition, that risk would be a negative?
I guess 888-710-4ISN. Andrew Bogusch, back from vacation, fresh off the plane. How you feeling? You're a warrior here for pushing through.
Yeah, I don't do many tough things. This was tough and dumb. Landing at
grit. This is grit.
Yeah, landing at like 6 o'clock yesterday, New York time. Waking back up at 3:30 today was not smart. And for some reason,
T's and P's.
JFK or EWR?
JFK. And landing here in New York, not specific to this flight, but landing in New York destroys my ears. Like we took off, landed. Didn't feel a thing. Did the usual like yawn, blow your nose thing, ears pop.
Equalizing your
landing at JFK wrecks me. Like I was in such I was half deaf last night. It was awful. My left ear doesn't clear it.
Basically, Bogues, you're a Navy SEAL to tough that out. I can't believe you were in the plane. Right? You didn't parachute down, right?
No, it didn't.
And this was physically challenging for you to land at JFK Airport.
Legitimate pain.
God, you're softer than me. Yeah. This is unbelievable.
But it's all the time now. I don't know what is specific to the way they get to the ground at JFK here. I don't know what it is, but going fine. Coming back, it's awful.
And you don't have this experience at LaGuardia?
I live 15 seconds from JFK, so I haven't gone to LaGuardia in years.
Too big for LaGuardia.
You got to do like this is like a parenting thing. Do you ever do this when your kids are on a flight? Like I'm more concerned about my kids' ears on a flight than I am whether the flight makes it or not.
Yeah.
And I've got, juice and lollipops and all the stuff to just try to make sure his ears don't.
That's my wife too.
I'm definitely going on the family vacation now. You got lollipops?
Oh my God, Manny. I'm like Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
I got stuff I'm just bringing anything.
When a 4-year-old's ears are about to pop, they think their head is exploding and they go into panic mode.
Yeah.
And apparently Bogusch just does the same thing.
But everyone in my family had the same problem on the plane. Like my Jake was next to me and he's like tapping me and trying to talk. I'm like, dude, I can't hear you. You can't hear me. But we land and they're all fine. And I'm walking to the terminal and they're talking to me and I can't hear them. I'm
When did your ears finally pop?
My left one still is not right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is there like a internet remedy for this?
I mean, the one that you're...
Yeah, it's called Man Up.
I mean, I am here. I did do that.
Put some icy hot on it, man. Man up.
I'm loving this.
Type it into WebMD. It's like, how do I get her popped ear? It's like sack up.
I mean, the way that you like they can't officially recommend is like you hold your nose and like blow your nose.
Yeah. You haven't done that?
But I have. It doesn't work. And it's also at some point it becomes dangerous.
You're going to blow your eardrum.
Yeah. So you can't do it forever.
Any family members deal with this? Like, is this a hereditary issue?
Not to this extent. I don't know if I have a problem. Like, if there's something else I should check out. If I got an eardrum issue or something. But it was enough that I had to like ask my family like to leave me alone for a few minutes last night in the house, like just to sit down and be like, my head's throbbing, my left ear is completely closed. Like, I just need 5 seconds to like decompress before I'm unpacking things. Turning the house back on, like, just give me a second.
Can I pose another theory that Andrew Bogusch decided to drink 17 mojitos before he left Punta Cana?
No,
Okay.
no, that was
just
not it at all.
Out.
No, I did. I didn't eat a spicy pepper, but the last night of the trip wasn't good for the stomach either. So the last 36 hours,
God, dude. Did you have fun at all? Did you enjoy
a ton of fun.
You've been on air for 5 minutes and all you've done is be and moan.
The first 4.5 days were great. The last like 36 hours have been a little bit annoying.
Is there a chance you actually ruptured your eardrum?
No, this is consistent though. This happens on all the last like a little bit. So maybe something is wrong with my ear, but I didn't feel like this landing in the Dominican Republic. It's the worst coming back here, as if there's like a different descent.
Yeah.
That it's like harsher, it's quicker, and like that's why it messes with me. but it was a lot.
All of the years of audio just coming blaring into your ears has finally caught up with you.
And
folks.
I'm going to be deaf for that, too. So, I mean, this could all be the same problem wrapped together.
Well, we're all going deaf, but
what'd you say?
Yeah, in this industry. Perloff, you've got a foot guy, world-renowned foot doctor. You got an ear, nose, and throat guy.
Yes, I do have an ear, nose, and throat guy.
You've got an allergist. Like, you're the man to go to for doctors.
Yeah.
You also have the most trusted mechanic in Brooklyn, which is not a truth. Not a true thing.
I know.
That's exactly what he wants you to believe.
The nicest guy in prison.
I don't have an ear guy.
Okay.
You don't have an ear guy.
The thing is, this is just Andrew Bogusch being crazy because I've landed JFK 1,000 times and never had this issue.
Oh, that's
neither of any of us. Has anyone else here ever had
negative Ghost Rider?
No.
My issue with JFK is it takes longer to get to JFK than the actual flight.
Yep.
Like you sit there, I'm flying out of JFK. Well, I'm going to have to leave 7.5 hours early. You might as well just drive to Cleveland. It's faster than getting to JFK.
And now they're doing like massive construction there, so it's even more.
The JetBlue terminal, I don't like to complain just in case they're ever going to sponsor us, but JetBlue's terminal JFK is an absurdity.
Oh, wow.
JetBlue wouldn't let me book my flight last night.
Why?
Where are you going?
I have no idea. I'm going to Mexico.
Oh, hey.
I was trying to book my flight, and it just said loading. Don't turn off this page.
Cargando.
I left this morning. It was still loading.
Are the Mets playing in Mexico? What's going on in Mexico?
People take vacations there, bro.
What, don't you follow the Mets around for most of your international vacations?
That was only one time. No
Is WrestleMania in Mexico City?
No WrestleMania.
That'd be cool, though.
That would be amazing.
It just doesn't seem like
Marvel convention.
Yeah,
no.
It doesn't
Comic-Con?
seem like you to create this nice vacation for your fiance without some sort of sports tie. To be totally honest,
this was Andrea push. So
obviously,
Obviously. Yeah. Bogusch, hang with us,
We're
will
going
you?
to catch a Mexican soccer game out there.
Yeah, the Jets are playing in Germany in November. Let's go there, honey.
And maybe I'll get engaged while I'm there too.
Second engagement.
Okay, we have. I was gonna say it, but I'm like, man, he's got it loaded up. Okay, we're gonna talk about. I'm assuming Jimmy Butler's big injury from yesterday, which Perloff is already calling him out for. He had to leave the game yesterday.
He's softer than Andrew Bogusch.
Oh my gosh!
Oh my goodness.
All right, we're gonna get to that in just a moment. What happened to Jimmy? Playoff Jimmy last night. Sit tight.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Apparently, Andrew Bogusch's vacation very eventful, but mostly the flight. Yeah, what do? You want to put this one on air or no?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is going down there. We moved seats. Everybody, there was an empty seat.
Yeah, yada, yada. You ended up next to.
So we all moved left, my family, so that a couple and their baby could be reunited. They were separate. So first of all, we were being nice, but I was like, did I just sign up for a crying baby next to me for a 3.5-hour flight? Whatever. Kid was quiet because as I turned to my right once, he was being breastfed. So now, So now I'm sitting there.
Were you a coach?
We were, of course. So now we're sitting there. I'm sitting there in a robe of myself with two strangers, and the whole right side of my body was off limits because I did not want to accidentally turn and just accidentally linger too long. So I was like, can't look right, until I saw the kid sit up and move around. Like, okay, now I have freedom of movement again.
I would stare like Zach Galifianakis in that scene in The Hangover.
You stare at women who are breastfeeding?
Oh, yeah, big time.
You creep.
Yeah.
That is.
I do not know.
But now he's going to start.
Yeah, now you planted a seed in my mind.
Now Manny can't look away. All right, let's get to some headlines.
Mouth
Happy
open,
draft,
too.
everyone. But Jimmy Butler not doing so hot this morning.
Headline sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Insurance for motorcycles, boats, RVs, and maybe pelvic contusions for protection on the road and on the water. See how much you could save at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com. Here is why, apparently, Jimmy Butler III is not that tough, according to Perloff and Perloff only.
Thompson drives on Draymond, shoots over him. No good. Butler he undercut Butler as he fell down on the play, and Butler's hurt. Oh, Butler is hurt. He's down on the floor. Thompson face down on the floor. Butler took a horrendous fall, and you could hear the crowd gasp on that.
Tim Roy, Warriors Radio. Butler accidentally undercut while up in the air for a rebound late in the first quarter. He did not return, gets an MRI back in San Francisco. Here's head coach Steve Kirk.
If Jimmy's out, we have to rethink, everything, like rotations and who starts and the best combinations and all that stuff.
Perloff, do you want to explain why Jimmy is soft?
Well, when you hear the word, you said the injury to start. If
Yes.
you hear the word contusion, that means, they're load managing. He fell on either his pelvis or his tailbone, right?
Sure.
Which is the worst. It hurts.
Yeah.
But I always thought any kind of bruise for the playoffs, you can fight through. There's no ligament damage, as far as I know, not yet. If something like that is happening, but it just seems like a very severe bruise. So players fight through that. I mean, this was a long fall. I understand. But, I assumed it was like you guys have all fallen on your tailbone, right?
Yeah,
It
it's the
sucks.
worst.
But if I'm an NBA athlete, I'm going to fight through that and get out there, maybe put a little shot in there, loosen everything up. Let's go, Jimmy.
I imagine he's probably going to play, but
Knowing
he's
Jimmy
also,
Butler, yeah.
Yeah, but he's also like an older player, and if the series is tied 1-1 and you're going home. Now, let's not forget, Brandon Pajemski also was dealing with an illness in this game, so he was getting IVs at halftime. He was out there, but he was clearly not himself. And, maybe they think they could hold the fort, even if he has to lose, if he misses game 3, but Jimmy is such a huge part of the scoring. Like, let's not forget, the Warriors were under 500 before he got there. And in these really impressive games, the play-in game against Memphis, game 1 against Houston, I mean, Jimmy had 38 points and 25 points. Like, he's a huge part of the scoring load.
Yeah, and I think Pajemski had an issue when his flight landed and his ear was messed up. Because he looked like he should not have
And
been
he ate
out
whatever
there.
I ate on Tuesday.
I
Like breastfeeding in the front row and just distracting him.
Yeah. I found it uncomfortable looking at him last night. He looked so sick, whatever that was.
Warriors, by the way, still a slight favorite in the series.
Because, they're going home. So I think, and Houston's not great. Can we just say this what it is? That is the right matchup for this banged up Golden State team. They're just not consistent offensively. I mean, all those guys are very talented, but they could easily pull a 2 for 18 on any given night. That's all I'm saying. EJ, you were oohing me on that.
Yeah, I mean, they're not great. They are great defensively, and they can guard these guys, which is a problem. So Jimmy Butler better be fine, because the game 1, he was basically half the offense. I mean, the Warriors scored 94 points in game 2. And they won the last game scoring, 95?
95.
Yeah.
And he had 25 of the 95.
Right. So the Warriors are not showing they can really score on these guys. So
Well,
that's a
it's a
problem.
wrestling match from moment. It's bizarre how they're all fighting and wrestling the whole game.
They're bigger, they're stronger, they're more athletic. That's why I still wouldn't rule them out in this series.
Yeah, but the Warriors handled that pretty easily in game 1, though.
They only scored 95 points. They didn't handle it easily.
No, but they held the Rockets at 85.
No, I mean, that's what I'm saying, though. Offense may be a problem, but they're always going to be in these games, I think, because it doesn't look like the Warriors can run away from them.
Folks, we got time for another?
Well, 109-94, by the way, the final last night. Jalen Green had 38 points for Houston. The Cavs held off the Heat, 121-112 for a 2-0 series lead, and the Celtics topped the Magic, 109-100. No Jason Tatum, thanks to that bruised wrist. Boston leads that series 2-0. In playoff hockey, the Kings stumped the Oilers 6-2. Caps held off the Canadiens 3-1. Those are 2-0 series. The Stars took a 2-1 lead on the Avalanche with a 2-1 win in OT in Colorado. Now I'm done.
Good to have you back, man. Sorry it was such a harrowing last 24 hours or so.
Yeah, I survived, I think. We'll see.
Harrowing seems like a strong word.
And I got another thing, too.
All right.
Well, spit it out.
How much stuff happened on this trip?
A lot. So we had the breastfeeding baby next to me on the way down. Yesterday, we left an hour late because as we were about to pull away from the gate, they get on the phone and go, is there a doctor or a nurse on the plane?
Worst.
What I don't understand is the door was still open. We were still at the gate. I don't know why they don't get actual people from the airport. And so they made this lady, thankfully, volunteer. Somebody was having some kind of issue in first class and eventually got off the plane, but then we had to climb in the back and dig their luggage out. So we left like over an hour late yesterday.
When they say, is there a doctor on the plane? I'm just like, well, and that's
For my
it.
ear?
Some ladies basically have a heart attack in the front.
But it was like, I'm sorry.
My ear didn't pop yet.
I know we landed, but I need a doctor right now.
Does anyone have any gum?
That's better. I'd rather have a doc. Is there a doctor on here? Did we ever having a mechanical issue? Why are you telling me that?
Which team has the most to gain in this draft?
We'll
you
tell you
stare at
next.
women who are breastfeeding?
Oh, yeah, big
You
time.
creep.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Which team has the most to gain in this draft? Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Good morning. Drafts tonight, first round. And, you know, listen, are there superstars in this draft, future Hall of Famers? I don't know if anyone's saying that, Perloff, but there's still an opportunity for teams to get much, much better. This is how you build your team, is through the draft.
Right.
Who do you think has the most to gain over the next 3 days?
The big jump, I'm going to go super obvious. It's number 2, Cleveland Browns, getting Travis Hunter in the building. There is no other team that's getting a defensive and an offensive player in the same pick, Maggie. He's going to transform everything instantly, at least make them interesting. So I love what they're doing with maybe not biting on a quarterback at 2, putting Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett as hopefully Joe Flacco. I think Hunter immediately ups everything. And the funny thing about the Browns is they're like season on with Kevin Stefanski, season off, season on, season off. So I think that there's a good chance that they're not a Super Bowl contender by any means, but they get back to the winning side of the ledger. And I think Travis Hunter will be the main reason.
Interesting. So you think everyone's saving their job? Like this is the what are they doing at quarterback though?
Well, I think that you go Flacco because he had so much success there 2 years ago,
right?
And saving their job.
But then what do you do next year?
Well, that's the thing.
That's
I think
next year's problem.
Cleveland's very smart. Do not bite on this year's weaker quarterback class. Save it. You know, and I think that they are looking big picture here. This was not the year for or they get a second round quarterback too, which they might do. But you don't have to keep that second round quarterback. I think they're keeping their options open.
Yeah,
that's what I think Cleveland is doing. That's smart. And go. I'd rather do Joe Flacco than overreach and take a quarterback I don't love at 2.
Okay. I mean, Cleveland Browns, I feel like we've been here before with the Browns talking about how here they are, top of the draft, near the top of the draft, and this draft's going to change everything.
Wait,
and yet here come the Cleveland Browns back at the top of the draft.
I don't think the Browns are like that. I mean, that's the Giants. The Browns they haven't had that many top 10 picks. They had Myles Garrett, no brainer. He did change everything. They had Baker Mayfield. But you said not only would Kevin Stefanski keep his job, he'll probably win Coach of the Year for the 3rd time.
I don't know about
that. He might. The guy is an offensive guru. So I just think that they become more respectable this year. And I think they're kind of must watch with Travis Hunter, assuming Travis Hunter does go there.
I mean, I think must watch and actually changing your franchise are very, very different. Because I've been intrigued by the Browns in the past. You know, Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham Jr. Like there have been times when I've been like, I wonder, like where I almost can't wait to watch it. Maybe a little like a car wreck or something like that. But I just feel like I've seen the same old song and dance. Like how many times have the Cleveland Browns had an opportunity to really change their fortunes in the draft? And meanwhile, they have one playoff win since they've been back to Cleveland, right? It's just it never works for them, which makes me think that there's so much more else at play. It's a little like EJ. Oh, I almost called you Eli, like Elijah. We're going all formal today, but it's almost like EJ's Jets. Like you're at the top of the draft a lot. You've even actually drafted some guys that are not bad. It's just not consistent enough. You're not getting to second contracts with these draft picks enough, and it's never been enough to actually, for the Jets, for example, break this playoff drought that's now, 14 years or what have you. So I don't know if I believe in the Browns.
I mean, the Browns, their problems have not been the draft. There's been it's been the Deshaun Watson trade. That's what killed them. They've actually been a really good draft team. I don't think they have, because of Deshaun, they probably haven't had any first-round picks. They're a pretty good drafting team. It's the OBJ move was not good. They couldn't seem to get along with Baker Mayfield. And the Deshaun Watson trade killed them, just destroyed the franchise.
But they were bad long before Watson got there. That's like another log on the fire. A big one, but still.
Yeah, they've done okay. To me, drafting is not the problem. It's when they think they're close and they add a piece, that's not worked out well.
To me, can I give you 2 candidates? I think there's a very obvious one, but it's almost so obvious that it feels like a cop-out, so I don't want this to be like my official answer. But the obvious answer is the Titans. Like, what changes a franchise more than anybody is obviously a quarterback. And if you think he's a franchise-changing QB, all of a sudden the Titans are now interesting, different, factor in the AFC South. Like, I don't want that to be my official answer, but that is the most obvious low-hanging fruit.
I don't think anyone thinks that.
Well, that might be because you don't think Cam Ward is a franchise
I think Cam Ward's good. I just think the Titans are so sticky as an average team that even Cam Ward, if he's good, is going to make them a 1 p.m. Eastern team. I just think that the AFC South and the Titans, I don't think they have the team around them to make them to take that leap. So I don't think anyone is interested in seeing Cam Ward. I think that's a longer term project. I'd be shocked if he immediately turned them around Jaden Daniels style because they haven't done the other moves that you need to do to support a young quarterback. So to me, that's not as exciting.
Yeah, but I feel like you could have said that same thing for the Bills for 20 years. Could never get it right with quarterback. The Kansas City Chiefs really up and down with quarterbacks. There have been franchises that have wandered this quarterback desert. The Pittsburgh Steelers are doing it right now, a little bit better than the other teams I mentioned, but until you get that guy, he changes everything.
But it took a couple years with Josh Allen, so it might take some time. Can't you see the Titans being boring this year?
Did they just sign Tyler Lockett last night?
I mean, come on.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
But can I see them being boring? Like, yeah, sure. But
I mean, one of the top 3 most boring teams in the league.
Well, I could also see this year being like a feel it out, figure it out year. And then are they a playoff team in 2 years?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I like Cam Ward a lot, and he's super exciting. It's just you're buried. And also, do I trust that coach?
We don't know enough. But Cam
that's
also has a good personality. He's got the thing he does, like the celebration that he does, whatever that thing is. He clearly has a good story. And the other thing about Cam that I think people forget, I know you said before, like he's kind of mild-mannered and we don't really hear from him. There's a video out there where he's talking to Shedeur Sanders. And
that was a big deal.
Multiple videos.
Yeah, he's like, I don't care about you, or whatever he said. He kind of, I don't want to make it out to be more than it is, but he was like, basically like, who are you? I'm better than you.
They have a friendly rivalry.
Yeah.
It's like
it wasn't friendly at the time.
It's a little awkward in some of those videos.
Goku Vegeta vibe.
The what?
Yeah.
They had a little Goku Vegeta vibe.
But I don't think there's a reason.
Frenemies.
In the history of the NFL, 100, there's never been a number 1 overall pick who's talked about less than Cam Ward to the Titans. And I think it's really the Titans more than him. Like, he just does not come up. I watch ESPN commercials. I don't even think they show him. They show Ashton Genty and Travis Hunter. I just don't think anyone cares because the Titans they just haven't been relative in so long. You're right. Logically, this makes sense. And I think he's going to be good, but it's a long way to unbury that team.
So, like, if you actually get a guy who's a franchise quarterback, that changes your fortunes more than anyone. But I want my real answer. That's my low-hanging fruit answer. I want my real answer to be which team has the most to gain in this draft? I think it's the Bears. Because, first of all, let's not forget, you love Ben Johnson. You put him in Canton already as a head coach.
Yes.
He's paired up with Caleb Williams. The biggest jump they always say with quarterbacks, it's like, oh, year 2 to year 3, guys. It's year 1 to year 2. Like, that's the jump. This is when you realize whether guys are cut out for it.
I thought it was year 3, but yeah.
Geno Smith and like the late bloomers and stuff like that.
But everyone says year 3, but just so you know.
I think, but there's data that it's more like year 2.
Okay.
You got the coach there. We already said we thought that there was a good team around the Chicago Bears and around Caleb Williams, that they could have been a playoff team a year ago. Well, obviously, that didn't go well. But this is a team that still has a 10th pick overall. Maybe they can mess around with that too. Maybe you do trade back. Maybe you get another offensive lineman, whatever it's going to be. I can't say that I fully trust the Bears, but I think they are the team that's one draft away from maybe taking advantage of what's the Vikings situation with J.J. McCarthy and his knee. Is there any wiggle room there? What's going on with the Lions after they lost 2 coordinators? And what's going on in Green Bay? We saw Jordan Love get hurt in the first game of the season, and, they made the playoffs, but it didn't look, I don't think, however everyone thought it was going to look for Jordan Love. So,
but how is this? I'm just curious. Like, how is this draft? I think everything. I'm into the Bears too because of Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. But why this draft? I'm just curious. Like, what do you expect them to do?
I think that they're only a couple pieces away. So let's say you add a good offensive lineman who can start for you.
He may or may not. So I feel like this is the Jets taking old fashioned. You've been drafting offensive linemen up the wazoo for.
Keep doing it.
They're going to draft a tackle who's going to rotate in. I don't see that guy as being the game changer here.
So they have 10, 39, 41, and 72. So you got 4 picks in the top 75. That's good. That's you're looking at guys who can either be not right away starters, but work your way into being a starter by the time the season's into December.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. If they don't get Genty, then I don't want to hear about them. They just draft this whole draft's going to be, by the way, left tackles, right tackles, guards.
Right.
We're going to be
build your team.
Yeah, if they don't get Genty, I'm not sure I see this draft as a total game changer for them. At least not to the eyeball. Like, I think they're going to draft a guard or a tackle. We may or may not hear about him for 3 years.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. The team that has the most to gain in this draft. EJ, you're with me with the Chicago Bears?
I think the Bears are absolutely the right pick. 3 picks in the top 41 picks. You got 2 near the top of the second round, so that gives them flexibility. If they need to get a big star, like an Ashley Genty, and trade up, they can do that. If they want to continue to build out their roster I don't think is barren of talent. It just, I think, needs a little finessing. Definitely needs help on the offensive line. You can do that with all these picks here near the top. So I feel like the Bears are in a position where they could really be a scary team in the NFC North. It's a tough division.
Yeah.
But this is, again, not a team that doesn't have talent. They have talent, wide receiver, talent on defense. They just got to figure out some of the other pieces. And Caleb's got to come along.
EJ, last year, you did not want your Jets to take old-fashioned because you wouldn't make the field.
Yeah.
Right? There's no way a lineman is going to start. They paid up the wazoo to get, I keep saying that word. They paid a ton for a bunch of veteran offensive linemen. Like, they don't need a lineman. This is a luxury pick.
But I'll be real, though. I feel like, and I've said this on local radio as well, I feel like I may have been off on that because what teams need now, they need depth on the offensive line. Like, you can't just
won't make it through a season.
Yeah, you can't say I have 5 good guys and then that's it, because one guy goes down and you don't have a replacement or you're shuffling guys around, all of a sudden your offensive line falls apart. Look what happened to the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs were the best team in the NFL, and they couldn't function because they didn't have more than 5 good offensive linemen. So the Bears are in a position where they can get some depth. They can help out multiple positions. I think the Bears are in a really good spot. And I like Ben Johnson also being in the fold, picking these players. I know he's a brand new head coach, but considering what they built with the Lions and how well they drafted there, if he had anything to do with how they built that offense, I like him having these top 3 picks.
I'm not allowing any of this. I claimed the Ben Johnson bandwagon. You guys can't jump on it because they have 3 picks that they'll probably make the wrong.
I said the Bears were going to make the playoffs last year, and then they screwed me.
By the way,
I've been on the Bears bandwagon for a while.
Listen, I'm the Ben Johnson skeptic just because you're such a believer. I was like, you literally were putting him in Canton.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, if they draft a guard who's like rotates in on the third play, they can't say this draft. Ben Johnson will make this all work. By the way, also tight end, that'd be interesting. They definitely could be a tight end team.
Definitely.
Because this is the tight end draft. But that being said, I think Ben Johnson maximizes all these players. I think they have a good roster already. They just were poorly coached last year. And I know you agree with that.
Oh, well, definitely. I thought they should have gotten rid of Eberflus before the season.
Yeah, you're very clear about that.
Well, we all knew what was happening, and that Thanksgiving game still is one of the great debacles of all time. But think about it. They lost a couple games at the very, very end. Like last second plays, the Hail Mary against the Commanders. So they were a 5-win team. Maybe they could have been a 7-win team, and now they're everybody's pick to be that, super playoff team. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know about that because they do have the NFC North issue.
Yeah, I'm curious about the NFC North. We'll get more into that in the offseason. But, I saw your Philadelphia Eagles be an awesome team, lose both coordinators, and they took a step back. Oh, my
God. I mean, the Lions are – if the Lions don't – I hear what you're saying. They definitely are not the contender they were last year, but you're telling me that the Bears are going to be able to beat that team?
I don't know. It's division. I'm just saying that, the one thing that the Lions, I think, have going for them is if there's any coach that can rally a team from that was such an embarrassing loss for them. I know that they were really hurt on defense and a lot of guys were gone and they got more hurt in that game. You're the number 1 seed in the NFC, a home field advantage, and a rookie came in and beat you in the playoffs. And they were all over the map in that game. It was rough. And I think Dan Campbell could get they're going to have a major chip on their shoulder for a team that's like a giant.
I think you have the best right tackle in football, Penny Sewell. You have the best running back in football. I'm even going to say that as a Saquon. Wow. Jahmyr Gibbs. You have the best slot receiver in football, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. The talent, I think, is overwhelming because their GM is a super stud. So I hear what you're saying, and that does make sense. And I think the team we disagree on is the Packers, too, because I think the Packers they're always float around. They always win 10 games. And then the Vikings are really interesting. That could be the team fall. So, yeah, maybe you're talking me into the Bears being contender, but, man, it'd be better if they were in the NFC South.
Well, no kidding. But, the Vikings are making me a little nervous. Yeah. So we can get to that in a little bit because Dianna Russini is going to join us later in the show. Peter King's going to join us later in the show. I haven't given the lineup yet. Clay Matthews is going to join us coming up next. And it was Diana's reporting that 3 teams really in the mix for Kirk Cousins, and one of them is the Vikings. And I was like, wait, what? And then we had this very brief conversation yesterday. Is that to be a backup or a starter?
How could you not start? If you got Kirk Cousins in Minnesota, why would you not start a guy who you know is going to get 35 touchdowns and 4,700 yards?
You like that?
Why would you not do that?
Because you have J.J. McCarthy. I thought we're passing the torch here. I thought that's what this whole thing was about.
No.
Are you fond of that?
You're not going to bench Kirk. Kirk was born to play in that stadium. He actually has played in that stadium many, many times.
Yeah, including a pretty bad playoff loss to Manny's Giants.
Yeah, but that's what the Vikings do. They win a ton of games, have a ton of yards, and then lose in the playoffs.
Are you amenable to that?
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. At some point, we have to ask the audience whose accent is worse. British accent. Kirk Cousins.
Can I inquire if you're keen on that?
That's Kirk Cousins? I don't know this drop. What's going on? That's Kirk?
They played in London.
And he was on a commercial and they said...
Or Perloff doing Cam Smith.
Oh, wait.
I seem to have totally lost the Australian accent. I had it for a minute, and now I'm going between American and English.
A little Scottish in there.
He sounded South African.
Hello,
Yeah, I can see
Maggie.
that.
Sometimes my accent gets confused, British accents. That actually sounds a little Indian. Now I'm all over the place.
Yeah, I will.
That's a tight one. Kirk or Perloff?
That could have passed as a bad Indian impersonation. I have no idea. All right. Yeah.
This is a race.
Are you amenable to that? Oh, I get it. Do you like that? Okay. It took me a little while.
All right, English major.
I like him in Minnesota.
We'll get to that. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Speaking of audio that I'm not sure, well, I'm sorry, we know that's bad from Kirk Cousins and Perloff, both doing accents.
Are you amenable to that?
There's some other audio that we've got to play for you. And when I kid you, is it good or bad? I have no idea. I need you guys to be the judge of it. We'll do that next. Also, the Super Bowl champion and Defensive Player of the Year, Packers Hall of Famer, Clay Matthews is going to join us coming up next from Green Bay. We get to all that in just moments. It's M&P.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Well, he boarded that plane with the rum in his hand, said goodbye to the beach, kissed Dominican sand. But fate had a plan that was cruel and bizarre. His ear got all clogged, now he's picking a harp with the stars. Oh, Bogusch, you flew too close to the sun. One cabin pressurization, and your time here was done. You danced through life like a crash at a show, in a DMB shirt, shouting, celebrate, we will. Now we're pouring one out, and we're all asking why. You hit your last high note on that ear pressure sky. We gathered in church, all dressed up in flannel. Pastor spoke soft through the feedback on channel. The slideshow was playing, the tears nearly fell. But guess who ain't there? That damn Peter Baloney, too busy drinking seltzer in Floral Park hell. Baloney stayed home, said the drive was too long. Watched TikToks and golf with a White Claw and bomb, while strangers on planes saw real stuff unfold, like a lady breastfeeding, brave, fierce, and bold. And no, Pete didn't leer, he respected her grace. Not like that creep Manny staring dead in her face. Peter said, I'll make the service if traffic's light. Then brunch hit at Chili's, and he ghosted the night. Said Bogusch was cool, but these egg rolls are tight. We hope your fajitas burn extra that night. Oh, Bogusch, sweet prince of the jam, you lived every lyric like a Dave superfan. You went out in style like a late summer vibe, while Baloney was double-dipping ranch on the side. Now we we toast with our tears as we look to the sky. God bless Bogusch and that damn clock, dear goodbye. Baloney stayed home, said the drive was too long. Watched TikToks and golf with the White Claw and Bong. While strangers on planes saw real stuff unfold, like a lady breastfeeding, brave, fierce, and bold. And no Pete didn't leer, he respected her grace. Not like that creep maester dead in Kirk. Well, he boarded that plane with the rum in his hand, said goodbye to the beach, kissed Dominican sand. But fate had a plan that was cruel and bizarre. His ear got all clogged, now he's picking a harp with the stars. Oh, Bogusch, you flew too close to the sun. One cabin pressurization, and your time here was done. You danced through life like a crash at a show, in a DMB shirt, shouting, celebrate, we will. Now we're pouring one out, and we're all asking why. You hit your last high note on that ear pressure sky. We gathered in church, all dressed up in flannel.
Pearl, you and I have been fascinated about the draft happening in Green Bay. So let's go right to the source, and let's go to a man who probably can't walk down the street in Green Bay without being accosted. That's Clay Matthews, the 6-time Pro Bowler, the All-Pro, the Super Bowl champion for your Green Bay Packers and Defensive Player of the Year. Joining off on behalf of Lowe's. Lowe's is remaking all of the remaking the draft green room. It's built by Lowe's. And Clay, you're there right now. We were fascinated by the green room. Can you explain the vibe, the feel, what Lowe's is going for right now?
Lowe's has done a remarkable job here in building this green room. Sofas, lounges. It has a very kind of cigar vibe to it. And what they've told me, too, is that fans and consumers alike can purchase these products on Lowe's. I believe they're donating everything here to Habitat for Humanity. And I actually just saw this in my last interview. I just want to bring it up to you, but I see they have these phones right here, okay? Obviously it's for the draft. And this one right here, I don't know if you can see, it's for Travis Hunter right here. So I'm assuming he'll be answering this tomorrow. Depends on how early he is. But they've done a remarkable job, Lowe's. And then right when you exit the green room and head up on stage, it's remarkable. So in 2009, I didn't attend the draft in New York, but it is quite the sight to see. Hopefully everyone can, who's not here in person can experience this, through the broadcast, but it's special, and especially to do it in Green Bay, not only for my history that I've had in Green Bay with the 10 years that I was out here, but what it represents to the NFL, why the Super Bowl trophy is named the Lombardi Trophy. Guys like Reggie White, Brett Favre, Bart Starr, Ray Nitschke. I mean, you go down the list. I mean, the Packers are the NFL. So I know the draftees, it'll probably all go over their head, but as somebody who's come full circle with this, this is a great venue to be at, and hopefully it goes off without any problems tomorrow.
Clay, you don't want to fall out of the first round, but if you're going to, you want to do it in comfort, right? That's what the prospects are thinking. What was your draft night like? Did you have some of your well-known family around you?
Yes. So I thought I had the opportunity to go anywhere from the 10th overall to the 15th. And then I thought if I didn't make it, I thought that was a bit of a stretch. And I thought realistically I was going to go 20 through 25. I didn't go through 20 to 25. Hey, good luck. I'm going to sleep early. I'm turning the TV off. But I was at home at my parents' house. I had all my brothers, sister, siblings, their families, a few friends, just kind of to break up the the tense room it was. But it was just being surrounded by the guys who supported me back when I was a walk-on, back when no one gave me a shot. So for me, I was just in my comfort zone. That's why I didn't attend the draft, but maybe I kind of wish I did after seeing what they do here. But it was a great time, and just a little bit of background to it. I went with the 26th pick, and New England was on the clock. I thought I was going to New England because my father had played for Bill Belichick and the Cleveland Browns. They were getting old at pass rusher, so I figured it was a fit. And Green Bay had already drafted B.J. Raji that year, but they traded back into the first round, drafted me. Oh, great, we're going to Green Bay. Well, I had to go on Google, search where Green Bay was. It was in Wisconsin. Okay, I didn't know where Wisconsin was, so I had to search where Wisconsin was. But you know what? I couldn't have asked for a better place, a better team, organization to have fallen to.
Yeah, well, just think if, Wisconsin and USC had been in the Big Ten together like they are now, you would have known. But that happened much, much later. Clay Matthews is joining us now on behalf of Lowe's. Lowe's has built the Green Room in Green Bay. And of course, Clay just got inducted to the Packers Hall of Fame, which is really, really cool. You mentioned that the Packers traded back into the first round to get you. The Packers have kind of become known, Clay, for draft surprises. Aaron Rodgers, once upon a time, who spent some time in the green room infamously before he was selected, then Jordan Love, which was also a bit of a surprise. Do you think we're going to get a surprise from Green Bay this year, or do you think they're going to play it safe? And if so, where do you think they look?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think when they do surprise us, we never know. I mean, did anyone think they were going to draft Jordan Love when Aaron Rodgers was just coming off an NFC championship or whatever it was? So don't be surprised. But at the same token, I kind of look at their team right now, their roster, quarterback set, receivers, if they can stay healthy, running back, obviously with Jacobs has done well. So maybe on the defensive side of the ball, getting some type of playmaker. Naturally that's coming from a defensive mind like myself. So I could see something like that, but I don't know. I want to say they're low 20s, maybe mid 20s. So I think they're still great talent, best player off the board. But I don't know. I mean, they were so close last year. They just had to get over, if they didn't have to play Detroit and Minnesota twice last year. But, we'll see what that means moving forward. Hopefully, they continue to take the next step to become elite.
Clay, I looked up your measurables coming into your drafts. 6'3", about 240. Abdul Carter, 6'3", 250, the Penn State defensive end. A lot of people think he's going to go number 3. There's a little bit of a critique out there that he may not be big enough. I'm sure you face the same thing. When you see a pass rusher like Abdul Carter, does he have the size to merit go number 3 overall?
That's probably the number 4 team that's throwing shade on him. So that way he'll fall to number 4 right there. But yeah, you know what? It's such an interesting time coming out because there's so much critiquing. Obviously everybody wants, he's an outstanding player. He can get to the quarterback, but there's just so much critiquing on, does he have this? Does he lack that? What are his immeasurables? But for me, obviously that stuff helps, but at the end of the day, just put on the tape. What did he do in college and what is he projected to do in the NFL? I think for me, fortunately, Ted Thompson was the GM of the Packers at the time. When he put on my tape, you could look at, the measurables, which I thought I still did well, but also, the game film. In the limited amount that I had, I popped out. And so he saw something. So I think if you see, that playmaking ability, especially at the number 3 spot and as a pass rusher, can he beat tackles? Is he big enough to, walk them back? Does he have the athleticism to, have some wiggle? You just put it on. And I think if you pass the eye test and you got film to back it up, then all you can do is draft based on what you've seen. And I'm not sure what the hit rate is in the top 10, but you're going to have your busts and you're going to have your Hall of Famers. You just hope you make the most informed decision. And I think based on how well he played last year and what he possesses, that he absolutely should be what seems to be the number 3 overall pick.
Clay Matthews is joining us, of course, the Super Bowl champion, the All-Pro. He's in the Packers Hall of Fame now, which is cool. He's literally in the green room now, the one we're going to see tonight at the draft. It's built by Lowe's. You can go to Lowe's.com to find more information and to purchase anything that's on the set. Clay, when you were being drafted, I'm assuming your family history had to be a big positive in your camp. Your dad, your uncle, who's a Hall of Famer, your dad was a multi-time Pro Bowler. For Shedeur Sanders, I don't know if it's a help or not? Because Dion obviously has such a high profile. He's also obviously a Hall of Famer. You have a little experience this with having to be following in the footsteps of very famous family members. What would you say to Shedeur about blazing his own path and about some of the critique about him seems like it's a negative because his dad was such a great player and big personality?
Yeah, well, I think it helps Shedeur in the sense that the fire that he's been through, the criticism that he received in playing and all, just coming up and being Coach Prime's son, being Dion's son. So I think that will help him overcome some adversity that others might wilt under. Now, that being said, because of who he is and his moxie, 31 other fan bases will probably turn against him. It's easy to hate. It's no different than when Patrick Mahomes is coming to town. He's the best, and you just want to see him fail. So I think that plays in his favor, Shedeur's favor. Now, you never know how quarterbacks are going to, take it to the next level. So I kind of take it on a wait and see approach, but based on what he's been able to do, I'm blanking on the school he was at before, transferring to Colorado, but coming to Colorado and as a former Pac-10 and Pac-12, and now that's gone through, but Colorado joining them and being bottom of the barrel, they were must-watch TV. Last year, I watched probably more Colorado football than any other team because they were must-watch, and they had obviously Travis Hunter and Shedeur and Coach Prime, and they were just must-watch TV, not only because of kind of what they brought to the cinematic element, putting on screen as a showman, but also how they were able to turn that program around. So I think it plays into his favor. I think the fans are going to want to see him fail. But we'll see. I hope he has nothing but success. I hope all these guys do. Now that my heart has softened and I've come full circle.
Okay, I actually want to go to another critique, and I don't mean to be overly critical. There's one critique I saw of Shedeur that was interesting, that he takes too many sacks in college, and that might not translate to the NFL. You obviously had a lot of sacks. Is that on the quarterback, on the line, on the coaches? Do you go up against a quarterback and say, this is, is it the quarterback's fault or the fact that you just beat the tackle?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely times where a quarterback can hang on to the ball too long and they should get rid of it. And there's other times where, the quarterback is back there and just gets a little antsy if he, so I think it's a double-edged sword. But I think the number one thing, especially for rookie quarterbacks, is to not turn the ball over. So whether you throw the ball away, whether you take sacks, just don't turn the ball over. We used to put up these statistics in our defensive meeting rooms about, 1 turnover, 2 turnovers, 3. If you turn the ball over however many times, the percentage of winning goes up exponentially. So just don't turn the ball over as a rookie quarterback. Throw for 200 yards, get yourself a touchdown or 2, no turnovers, and let your running game and defense win, and then continue to get better, each and every week and each and every year. But that's Coach Clay sitting from the green room right now talking about what I would do.
We'll make sure to phone it in to Coach LaFleur. Clay Matthews with us for just a few more minutes on behalf of Lowe's. They built the green room. This is the literal green room that Clay's sitting in right now. You can see it behind him, that all the draftees is sitting in Travis Hunter's spot. So we think that it's probably going to be vacated pretty quickly because he's supposed to go to.
Is it Cleveland or is it Tennessee? I don't know.
Clay, when's the last time you talked to Aaron Rodgers?
Surprisingly, about 2 nights ago. We were texting about something else, not football related. I'm interested to see. I know where this question is going. I'm interested to see what he does next year as well. I thought when he took his trip to Pittsburgh that seemed like a natural fit with Mike Tomlin, a playoff caliber team, an amazing defense, and now having 2 legit, wide receivers over there, it seems like a great fit. But I did listen to his Pat McAfee interview. It sounded like he had to work some stuff out. So I think we should all, kind of take a step back and let that resolve itself. And, but I don't know. I think I'm as much in the dark as you guys are on this. But I'll tell you what, after watching the Jets last year, well, I would say specifically looking at Aaron last year, looking at the stats he put together, I think it was pretty remarkable what he was able to do at his age. And I think he's still got it in him if he wants to.
Wait, Clay, if you gave us 100 guesses, would we guess what you were texting with Aaron Rodgers? Because that could be anything. It could be anything from ayahuasca to the pyramids to anything.
It could be anything. Now, I don't know if I'd be his go-to as far as, about those things. It was more practicality and stuff, but I still bet you wouldn't guess it though. So, we've got a great relationship.
Clay, last one for you, just a little one. And again, thank you for your time. For the USC fan that's out there that's really kind of wondering, like, where's this thing going with Lincoln Riley and sort of what's the frustration level? Take the temperature of the USC fan for us right now.
Yeah, I think coming off Caleb Williams, and it's going to be hard to replicate that Heisman success that he had naturally. And I think there was a lot of games that kind of slipped, Michigan, Minnesota, right off the top of my head. But from what I've heard, the GM, I'm blanking on his name, but I believe he came over from Notre Dame. It sounds like he's the real deal, and perhaps it's the piece they needed to kind of take USC to the next level. And hopefully that's back to, playing in these playoffs and, getting back to greatness again. So hopefully that's the case. I'm excited about them. I love my Trojans. I support them. So hopefully it's on the up and up.
Chad Bowden is his name, and bad job by him that he hasn't called you to hit you up for money yet, because
these pockets are tight right here, okay?
Clay Matthews literally in the green room right now. It's being built by Lowe's. You can go to Lowe's.com to get more information. And Clay, it's our pleasure. So thanks so much for taking some time with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it, guys.
All right, let's quickly, best guesses. What were Clay Matthews and Aaron Rodgers texting about?
So maybe it's because of the Lowe's part of this, but I think it was home improvement. I think Clay was redoing his kitchen and was asking about a certain kind of marble for the counter.
I think it was some kind of vacation destination retreat, something. So I don't know if Clay's doing ayahuasca, but something like, you went to Costa Rica. What was this like?
No, Clay, see, that's the thing. I think Clay does not do that new agey crap that Aaron Rodgers does. I think Clay's old school. He's a Matthews. I don't see. You think
he goes on vacation?
Yeah, but he doesn't do. No. But Aaron Rodgers doesn't go on vacation. He goes on some sort of experience.
Oh yeah, journey.
There's no plant-based medicine when Clay Matthews is going to Cancun.
Clay Matthews grew up in Southern California, played at USC. Aaron Rodgers living in Malibu. It was something to do with some Southern California business.
Okay.
Or maybe some real estate.
Something they own together.
String of car washes, something like that.
Yeah.
You can see it.
I want to let you know the people of Pittsburgh will respect the fact you're driving around in a boo, brother.
Andrew Bogusch has headlines for us. What's up, Bogusch?
Guys, good to see you again. Hours before that draft, the NFL is mourning the loss of Hall of Fame D-tackle Steve McMichael, one of the stars of the Bears' Super Bowl winning defense. McMichael diagnosed with ALS back in 2021. His career included 2 first-team All-Pro selections, and at one point he played 191 consecutive games for those Bears. There was also this when McMichael sang "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" at Wrigley Field back in 2001.
On goes home, Chicago! And don't worry, I'll have some speaks with that home plate umpire after the game.
You'll be shocked to hear that Angel Hernandez was the home plate umpire that day.
Way to bring it full circle.
And Angel was actually like a death stare back at McMichael from the field during all this, playing the fake tough guy that he was.
No one stepped into McMichael.
No
joke.
By the way, our buddy Jared Payton, very, very close to Steve McMichael, for Walter's son. Condolences to him. I know he was there recently.
I think he said his tweet said he was with him yesterday.
No, he was. Yeah.
It's nice they did that really nice thing for him at the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't able to go, but his wife was there, and that was really touching.
Former Seahawks wideout Tyler Lockett announced last night he is signing with the Titans, and the Lions reportedly making Kirby Joseph the highest paid safety in the league with a 4-year extension with an annual average value of $21.5 million.
Perfect.
Jason Tatum missed a playoff game for the first time last night thanks to that bruised right wrist, but his Celtics just fine without him.
Ball moved to Holiday. Holiday drives down the middle of the floor, hangs in the air, throws it through 2 men out to the corner for Jaylen Brown. Good night 3.
Hello, Irene. Hello, Irene. Good night, Irene.
Said Maxwell, Sean Grandy, Celtics radio. Jaylen Brown with 36, 20 points and 10 boards from Kristaps Porzingis in a 109-100 decision for a 2-0 lead on the Magic. The Cavs are up 2-0 on the Heat after a 121-112 home win. Donovan Mitchell scored 17 of his 30 in the fourth after Miami cut a 19-point lead down to 2. And the Rockets salvaged a split at home, 109-94 over the Warriors behind 38 from Jalen Green. Golden State also losing Jimmy Butler to a bruised pelvis. from a fall late first quarter. He did not return, getting an MRI today back at home. Not sure what it means in late April, but the Chicago Cubs have won their season series with the vaunted Dodgers.
Good speed on the base pass. Swanson at second, Horner at first. The pitch. Swinging a fly ball, left center, pretty well hit. Back toward the warning track. That ball is going to be gone for a 3-run homer. Pete Crow Armstrong goes to the opposite field, and the Cubs lead 3-2.
That's Pat Hughes, Cubs radio. Pete Crow Armstrong also had an RBI single and a 7-6 win at Wrigley. The Cubs take that season series 4-3. Before losing the game, the Dodgers canceled a bullpen session for lefty starter Blake Snell. He felt discomfort in his shoulder after playing catch on Tuesday. Snell has been on the IL for 3 weeks now. He'll be reevaluated once they are back in L.A. The Giants down the Brewers last night 4-2. The Rays got a 7-6 win in 11 in Arizona, and the Astros got a 3-game sweep of the Blue Jays 3-1. And finally, federal judge Claudia Wilkin told lawyers for the NCAA and college athletes yesterday to adjust their plans for roster limits, or she will not approve their multi-billion-dollar settlement, the one that leads to revenue sharing with players. Wilkin does not want those roster limits to take effect immediately, leading to too many athletes losing their spots. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thanks so much. I teased it before. We'll get to it next, I promise, which is someone's family member may have inserted themselves into this draft and tipped the hand of the team making the selection. I love when these stories happen. We'll get to that next. Top of the hour, Dianna Russini is going to join us. Also in the next hour, Nick Kostos from You Better You Bet will get you set for all the draft props that you need. Don't move. It's Maggie Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Well, he boarded that plane with the rum in his hand, said goodbye to the beach, kissed Dominican sand. But fate had a plan that was cruel and bizarre. His ear got all clogged, now he's picking a harp with the stars. Oh, Bogusch, you flew too close to the sun. One cabin pressurization, and your time here was done. You danced through life like a crash at a show, in a DMB shirt, shouting, celebrate, we will. Now we're pouring one out, and we're all asking why. You hit your last high note on that ear pressure sky. We gathered in church, all dressed up in flannel. Pastor spoke soft through the feedback on channel. The slideshow was playing, the tears nearly fell. But guess who ain't there? That damn Peter Baloney, too busy drinking seltzer in Floral Park hell. Baloney stayed home, said the drive was too long. Watched TikToks and golf with a White Claw and bomb, while strangers on planes saw real stuff unfold, like a lady breastfeeding, brave, fierce, and bold. And no, Pete didn't leer, he respected her grace. Not like that creep man, he's staring dead in her face. Peter said, I'll make the service if traffic's light. Then brunch hit at Chili's, and he ghosted the night. Said Bogusch was cool, but these egg rolls are tight. We hope your fajitas burn extra that night. Oh, Bogusch, sweet prince of the jam, you lived every lyric like a Dave superfan. You went out in style like a late summer vibe, while Baloney was double-dipping ranch on the side. Now we toast with our tears as we look to the sky. God bless Bogusch and that damn clogged ear goodbye. everybody stayed home. Said the drive was too long. Watched TikToks and golf with a White Claw and bong. While strangers on planes saw real stuff unfold. Like a lady breastfeeding, brave, fierce, and bold. And no Pete didn't leer, he respected her grace. Not like that creep maester dead in her pillow.
One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie Perloff. Excited to talk to Dianna Russini from The Athletic at the top of the hour. She emptied the notebook, and there's still more information coming in before the draft kicks off tonight in Green Bay, Perloff. But the draft is always weird. There's always a funky story that happens, and I think this definitely this applies. EJ, you sent this to us late last night. I had not seen it. Warren Sharp Football had it. And he's like an analytics guy. This is far from an analytics story, though. Apparently, according to Warren Sharp, Giants GM Joe Schoen's son posted a Jaxson Dart highlight reel on his Instagram on the eve of the draft.
Oh, so that's why I didn't get this text message.
And then set his account to private immediately. Manny, you're a young person. I'm assuming his son is like 13. We saw him on Hard Knocks
He's the
last
one who
year.
wanted Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, well, he never described how to get him. So,
he's
not exactly. He's not exactly, Mr. Wheeler Dealer. Because if he had actually found a way to get Jaden Daniels from the Commanders, then maybe I would have given him some credit.
Well, he knew about Jaden Daniels, and Joe Schoen clearly did not. That was very evident in Hard Knocks.
Well, maybe Joe Schoen knew there was no shot that Jaden Daniels was falling past two.
Yeah, right. Because everything Joe Schoen did in that show painted a football genius. Get out of here. He's like, Jaden Daniels, the LSU quarterback? He had no idea. His son knows more football.
You know what Joe Schoen's kid was saying after watching some Jaden Daniels tape?
Wow, Jaden Daniels. Good drop.
I know. He was really under the radar when he won the Heisman. Anyway.
Oh, my God. Let's go back and watch that episode together. Watch Joe Schoen's reaction when his son says Jaden Daniels.
Really, rather not do that.
Schoen wanted, I think he wanted Drake May and McCarthy.
They could have had McCarthy.
Yeah.
They decided to go with Malik Neighbors.
By the way, Jaxson, this is setting up to be such a disaster for the Giants based on this little incident and so much else.
So the little incident again is Joe Schoen's son posted a Jaxson Dart highlight reel on his Instagram and then immediately made his account private. Yeah. Well, young people, what's the difference when you get caught doing something from deleting your account, making it private, and then just taking this down? Why didn't he just take the post down? Why make it private?
They caught it anyway.
Well, I guess the problem is that this will be a persistent thing. People will still, even if he takes it down, people will be commenting.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jaxson Dart, huh?
But he didn't delete his account.
What would be the difference?
You gotta keep the account. You gotta.
He's still trying to, hit up girls and whatnot.
Exactly.
That's how you use Instagram.
How old is this kid? I think he's pretty young.
You still get crushes.
These are the kids.
Okay.
You gotta see Livy Dunn somewhere.
Exactly. Thank you, EJ.
Yeah, she's nowhere else except for Instagram. Oh, you might be right about
For him, probably.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
All the reasons the Giants are taking Jaxson Dart, by the way, are all the wrong reasons. Like, what is going on?
Break it down.
Well, just that Eli went to Ole Miss and Jaxson Dart went to Ole Miss.
That's enough for me. Let's get him.
That Charlie Weiss Jr. is best friends with Brian Dable, and Charlie Weiss was his coordinator at Ole Miss. It feels like there's relationships and connections between these. Like, I just worry the Giants, who have, let's face it, took Daniel Jones for all the wrong reasons. They're taking Daniel Jones 2.0. It just feels that way to me.
You know, I had not thought of it that way, but you're right. It is a little eerily similar to Daniel Jones. Remember who they loved because I think, honestly, because he looked and acts like Eli Manning, number one. But two, David Cutcliffe was the big thing. I had not even thought of that. He was like the Duke college coach who was Eli and Peyton's coach.
There are 5 other connections between Dable, Shane, and Jaxson Dart's camp. It's all... The Giants seem like a relationship team, and that is not an analytic team.
But they're not taking him 3.
Right. For example, in mock drafts, a lot of people have him trading back.
Although you and I disagree on one thing about not just the Giants here, but globally. I think when you take a quarterback specifically in either the first round, obviously, or the second round, I think there's an expectation that this person is in the mix to at some point be your starter, depending on who is the incumbent is.
Yeah.
You and I disagree on that. I think you believe that second round quarterbacks is pure flyer.
Yep.
No expectation whatsoever. I think second round, if it's Jaxson Dart at 33, 34, like Will Levis was top of the second round. We expected him to start at some point. I think we did think Jalen Hurts immediately was a threat to Carson Wentz. Like, I think second round quarterbacks, as rare as it is for guys to go in the second round, immediately become thought of as you're grooming them to be the starter.
But that's why it's rare. They absolutely do not take quarterbacks in the second round. It's a huge exception to take a quarterback in the second round.
Maybe not this year.
They take him, but history shows that they wait till the third round because they don't want that pressure to start the guy. And I love this, there's only been one first pick of the second round ever in the common draft era. It was Drew Brees. It just, everyone's mocking 33, the Browns, or 34, the Giants. That is not how NFL teams do business because of exactly what you said, because second round, there's too much pressure to start. Not only that, you can get a quality starter at another position, so you don't want a backup. So it's very likely there's a chance, say Jalen Milroe and Tyler Shuck don't go in the first round, which probably will happen. They could easily fall to the third for this very reason. Teams, I think there's been, 6 second-round quarterbacks to 35 or something in the third. So teams don't want this pressure. I think they avoid them like crazy. I think the Giants trade back, and they do not take a second-round quarterback.
Do you think that Joe Shane's son tipped the hand, and do you think he was doing it on purpose? Do you think he did it by accident? Was he trying to get clicks, show off to kids at school that he knows who the Giants like at quarterback?
Well,
if so, does Joe Shane get some blowback for that? I mean, if I'm John Mayer and Brian Daboll, I'm like, dude, what the hell?
Why? Who cares?
Because there could be other teams who want Jaxson Dart who end up jumping you or whatever.
Not happening. I don't think anyone else is going to trade up for Jaxson Dart. Peter Schrager
we heard that the Browns like him, I thought.
Yeah, in the second round. Do you think they could trade up?
Well, we had a report yesterday that both the Browns and the Giants are looking to trade back into the first round. And could be a matter of those two guys going head-to-head. Listen, the draft sometimes can be won on the margins.
I'm assuming that the Browns, if they trade back, would be for Jalen Milroe because their offensive coach, their coordinator, Coach Jalen Milroe.
But that's a theory. You don't know that.
Well, I'm just saying I'm doing the same thing with the Giants. The connections are the Browns and Jalen Milroe seem to be connected, where the Giants, more than any other team, are so connected to Jaxson Dart. So I feel like the Giants would try and jump ahead of the Browns if they did want Jaxson Dart. Peter Schrager of ESPN now has them going to 26 to get Jaxson Dart, but a lot of mocks have them going into the teens to get Jaxson Dart. So there's a question too. The Giants, are they going to have to sell the farm?
Well, this is why you don't tip your hand, right? If you actually love the guy, this is the worst possible thing you can do in the draft. Do you think this was on purpose?
You're right, but I think you're making a bit of a mountain out of a molehill because a kid put out an IG video.
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
If he really gave away and showed the hand of the Giants, I'm gonna be honest. It's unforgivable from Joe Shane.
Oh, come on!
You have to keep that a secret from your family, especially if you have a teenage kid or however old he is. If this is real and this is true, the freaking GM of the Giants, man, you're already on the hot seat. You can't tell your son so that he can look cool at school.
It feels a little heavy to me.
I don't think it's heavy. I don't think you're being heavy enough.
The Giants' problems are that they're going to win 4 games next year. Who cares about Joe Shane's son?
Well, then Joe Shane's going to be out of a job.
Definitely.
All right, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Dianna Russini next.
You're in a 5-minute break.
I mean, is he even going to survive till 30?
On a TV show, thought they left out all the dark and dirty roads. Skipped the fights, the tears, the heavy loads. She said, I love that man, but they sold him too easy. Miss the scars and the nights that made him believe me. Hey, Maggie Gray's got a bone to pick. Says the story's rough around the edges and slick. Where's the thunder, where's the pain, where's the fire that built the man's name? Let's sing it loud for the fight he braved. Maggie Gray hates the fire pit and the soft paved. Down at the station, the gossip rolls in. Vanilla Ice still ain't clocked in, same old sin. Peter Belotti's truck parked in his own yard. A whistle blowing, man, it's getting hard. They're chasing ghosts while the clock keeps on running. Good intention still as yesterday's gunning. Hey, Maggie Gray's got a bone to pick. Says the story's rough around the edges and slick. Where's the thunder, where's the pain, where's the fire that built the man's name? Let's sing it loud for the fight he...
Down in Music City, there's a man named Jay. He's tuned in to Maggie and Perloff every single day. Life's been a battle, he's been losing for years, but now his motto's clear: no more losing tears. He's been down, he's been low, but now he's ready for a brand new show. Jay's got questions, can't let it slide. Who's running to YouTube on the Infinity side? Jay in Nashville calling out the crew. Who's behind the curtain? He demands the truth. Peter Baloney's ghosting, no work in sight, but Jay's got the Maggie and Perloff show to make it right. Make it right. Been a loser so long, my losing's all gone. Tapped out my bad luck, it's time to move on. From his couch in Nashville, he's solving the case. Infinity's mystery, he's all over the place. He's got theories, he's got plans. Is it Moose or Perloff behind the cams? And Baloney, forget it, he's MIA. Jay's the one who's showing up today. Jay in Nashville calling out the crew. Who's behind the curtain? He demands the truth.
One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Tell you what, for a draft that doesn't have a lot of superstars, supposedly, it certainly has a lot of drama and a lot of intrigue and a lot of secrecy. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. This is why we need insiders like Dianna Russini, who's been crushing throughout this draft process with info, and we've been leaning on her. She's been a crutch. She doesn't even know for the show because the information is so tight. And Dianna is joining us now from The Athletic. Scoop City is an absolute must listen. Dianna, thank you for doing this. We know it's literally your busiest day of the year. How you doing?
Hey guys, no, you're starting my day. This is the first show I'm doing. I have a long list of radio and TV all day long because let's just face it, everyone wants to know what everyone is doing and they're hoping that that's what I'm going to be able to supply. And I'm just letting you know now, I can't tell you all of that. I'm not going to be able to answer everything, but I can definitely tell you what everybody's gossiping about because I have to tell you, it's unbelievable. Despite the fact that it's such a long night and most head coaches, GMs, assistants, owners, they're going to be up late tonight. Everyone was up early today. My phone started around 5:15 this morning where people are just ready to go. And that's kind of what makes this really fun because we don't really know what's going to happen. We just have an idea and maybe some good guesses at this point.
How often do other teams and GMs call you looking for information about other teams?
This time of year, all the time. In fact, I was just saying that the other day that I love the draft season because it's the one time where the relationship really shifts. Instead of me doing stalking, I'm getting stalked slightly. And by the way, stalked is a little aggressive. No one's stalking me.
We know what you meant.
It's just more, I'm sure this shocks you, especially you, Maggie. I can be a bit relentless with some of the stuff that I want to try to find out. So, I get screened all the time or sent to voicemail or text messages not returned. It's part of the job. I don't really take it personally because people are busy. But this is the time of year where it's actually kind of funny. I was just having this conversation with a friend of mine where you have to make decisions on whose calls and texts you're going to take when you're doing something else. For example, I was on the phone with a head coach yesterday who's picking at the bottom of the first round, and a GM in the top 5 called me, and I'm trying to wrap up this conversation and I want to be respectful, but I need a top 5 pick. I need the intel from him. I don't really care about you right now.
It's Andy, Sean, we'll get to you.
Correct. Joe Shane is calling. It wasn't Joe. In fact, the Giants have really done a good job of going dark. And I'm hearing that not just from my colleagues and from other media members that I'm friendly with from other networks, but really from around the league. Teams that are calling up to have conversations about, what their positions are, what they're doing, what they're open to. They've told me that they are giving very little information out to anyone, even if it could hurt them at this point right now, because they just don't want anyone knowing their plans.
Yeah, but here comes Joe Shane's son, Dianna. I'm sure you saw this, posted the Jaxson Dart highlight reel on Instagram, then made his account private. You're right. There has been, very little info about the Giants, considering how intriguing it is that they're at 3 and then at the top of the second round as well. I guess best guess about the Giants, and is the Jaxson Dart love real? Do you know that?
No, it's a great question. And that's the time of year we're in where it's so is this happening? Right. And look, first of all, when I saw Joe Shane's son post that, my thought was, well, he was right last time. I hope he's right again. Because I've always said, Joe Shane's son's my favorite person with the Giants organization because based on the Hard Knocks, he just seemed like he was clued into what his dad should be doing. And look, they've obviously done so much homework on all of these quarterbacks. We saw Joe Shane essentially move his entire home to Boulder, Colorado, to take in as much as he can about Shedeur Sanders. Yet here we are, the day of the draft, and I don't believe that that's the direction they're going to be going in, especially with that top pick. at 3, because it just had felt for the last few months that was it, that Sanders was the guy, based on reading the tea leaves and also just having some conversations with people, that there was a time where Shedeur Sanders was their favorite quarterback. That was real. That changed. And I think this is why these meetings are important. Combine, workouts. It's why they spend so much time around these guys. Is this a good fit? So here we are, and I feel pretty good. And I think a lot of people around the league are looking at the New York Giants right now and saying at 3, they're going to most likely go best player available.
Wait, Dianna, sorry, not to cut you off, but they did all this work on Shedeur. They were at all of his games, and then the 11th hour, all of a sudden they realized it's not a fit. Like, what changed?
I don't think it's the 11th hour. I think it was a few weeks, if not months ago, that it started to shift, where they said, all right, maybe this isn't right. And I don't know if that is because they met with him and had spent more time one-on-one outside of Colorado. I don't know if there was something that happened between Shedeur and maybe perhaps someone on the staff that didn't mix well, because, good organizations, and let's give the Giants that for now. Let's just say that they're operating like a good organization, whether or not we have our opinions or not at this point. They're collecting. It's all about finding as much information as possible. And if the interactions with the player aren't great with someone, especially if it's an important person, that could really shift the way they do things. And I've covered drafts enough to know that it's not everyone's always on the same page with this stuff. And sometimes that makes it difficult. I've had stories before where, the personnel department's all in on one guy, coaching staff's on another guy, owner is on another one, because let's never, ever underestimate the power of an owner, whether that means his body language is like this, or he's directly saying, like we saw years ago with Dan Snyder, you're taking this quarterback, depending on what organization we're talking about. But for now, for where we're at right now, John Mara has always been a pretty hands-on owner, but he's a listener and he is a collector of intel. And I can tell you he's been doing a lot of that. And they made a decision with what they're doing at that number 3 pick over a week ago now. They came to a decision. So they've been sitting on this for a while.
So, Dianna, how far, as of right now, do you think Shedeur Sanders could fall? What's the draft range for the Colorado quarterback?
Crazy. I feel like it's changing by the minute. I certainly feel like it's been dropping for sure. There was a time where I really thought that Pittsburgh was going to jump in on this. I had heard some really good feedback on that meeting between the Steelers and Shedeur. And all I can do is base it on what I hear the Steelers are doing behind the scenes, which I'm hearing they're trying to trade out, right? So think about it. If you're trying to go for a quarterback and it's a priority, you either don't think that you need to take them there because you could probably get them in a later round, or you have a better plan of collecting more picks and you feel good about your quarterback situation. So in terms of Shedeur, look, there's a world where he falls out of the first round. There's certainly a chance of that happening, because I don't think I feel very strongly that the New Orleans Saints are not interested in him. In fact, I think that the New Orleans Saints are in the quarterback market for sure. They're going to come out of this draft with a quarterback. I just don't think they're doing it with their 9th pick. They're changing up their front. They've got some needs on defense. They've got a lot of needs on offense as well. But I see them just really sticking at that spot and going best player available. So, look, could the Cleveland Browns take him at the top of the second round, or perhaps maybe they feel they need to get up and not roll the dice there? That could happen as well. But I do think it's important, guys, since I know we're just touching specifically on Shedeur, but we might as well just open this thing up to all the quarterbacks. Just keep in mind, the overarching quarterback, or at least the quarterback that's kind of like hanging over this that you may not be thinking of, is Kirk Cousins. Okay? He obviously was the story of the draft last year when the Atlanta Falcons decided to go with Michael Penix, even though that they had just signed Kirk to $1 gazillion. This year, the Atlanta Falcons are having conversations with the Steelers, with the Browns, with the Vikings about what this could look like. So think about this if you're Cleveland. If you think or know that Kirk is available, maybe you can get him at a price that you want, you're probably not going to be in the quarterback market. You're probably not worried about that at all in this draft. So I've got a lot of other teams trying to find out as well, what's going on with Kirk, because that's going to determine what those teams are going to do, at least in the first and second round.
So Dianna Russini is joining us from the Athletic Scoop City podcast. Must listen. It's got all the best info, and you and Chase Daniel just have a really fun relationship, and it's a perfect yin and yang because you've got the info and he's got the 14 years playing in the NFL, and it's just like perfect. It covers all the bases. So if Kirk Cousins is kind of hanging over this draft a little bit, does he get traded tonight?
So I think if he were to get traded, I think it would be later on in the weekend, more Friday night, Saturday morning, because there's a couple things that at play here. One, Kirk has to sign off on this, right? Like Kirk has that no trade clause, so he's got to be okay with it. So he's going to want to talk to the team that is interested in trading for him, see what the situation is. Are they going to be going for a young quarterback? And is he going to put himself back in a situation like we just saw in Atlanta? I can tell you from talking to some people close to him, he does not want to go back to a situation where there's a rookie quarterback, sitting on the bench, and the crowd's cheering the second he throws an interception again for him to get in there. So I don't think he's against helping out a quarterback room, of course, but I just don't think he wants a situation that we just saw in Atlanta where it really just didn't work out great. So then when you start doing the math, right, where does that leave you? Minnesota to me does feel like a long shot. They have hitched their wagon to J.J. McCarthy. They have put out every single signal, sign, message, report, whatever it is, chalk. Like they're doing everything to let the world know we love JJ McCarthy. He is the guy, which, anytime that always is a red flag for me. Like whenever you're pushing and you're pressing on me, I'm like, okay, something's weird, but let's see. Kevin O'Connell's coach of the year. He's tremendous. He knows what he's doing. So let's see what happens with the JJ McCarthy situation. The Aaron Rodgers situation is also hanging over this. The Pittsburgh Steelers have no answers. They do not know, and they're willing to wait. But at the same time, they've got DK Metcalf and George Pickens as their two wide receivers who I think a lot of quarterbacks would love to be stepping into that offense and playing with those two studs. So still a lot of questions to be answered.
So you said a team that might trade for Cousins, like Cleveland, a team like Cleveland is, if they get a second or third round guy, that would preclude them from not getting Cousins. Actually, so if you trade for Cousins, you're not going to take a flyer on any of these guys. Is that what you think could happen?
My thought is they've got Joe Flacco, they've got Kenny Pickett, right? They've got those. If they're going to go in for Kirk, I don't believe that they're. And they've Deshaun Watson, by the way, which.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah. That's a whole other interview with you. Yeah.
It's funny. I actually had a conversation with a coach yesterday about that. I'm like, and what about Deshaun? And they're like, is he even going to show up? Why would he show up after ownership said what they said?
Yeah.
Remember during the league meetings, Jimmy Haslam was like, yeah, we took a shot. That didn't work. It's like, maybe I don't want to go there anymore if you're Deshaun. But to answer your question, look, I think the reason why it would be later in the weekend is because of the compensation. I can tell you the Falcons do not want to take on a lot of the salary. They do not. So I think perhaps the way in order for them to come to an agreement on a trade, it would be a later draft pick in exchange. So does that mean that Cleveland would be completely out of the quarterback game at that point? I would think so. But again, you never know. So
listen, we already know that the Cleveland Chipotle has Kirk's order. So, It's like, what more do you need to even iron out at that point? A house, schools for your kids? I mean, it's all secondary after they know your Chipotle order.
I'm so glad that you love the dumb stories the way I do.
Oh, I got another one for you, Dianna. Well, no, this is not dumb. I have one serious one for you and one that's just sort of silly. Let me do the serious one first. Can you put the quarterbacks in order after Cam Ward? Do you think, because the first time I heard about the Tyler Shuck flying off draft boards was your podcast with you and Chase. Do you have an idea of what the order is? Is it actually Cam and then Shedeur and then Dart and then Jalen Miller, or is there a different order?
No, you're good. I would say just based on, and look, every team has their board set up different. I have a head coach who's got Tyler Shuck number one of the quarterbacks. And by the way, this is an offensive-minded head coach. This isn't, someone that doesn't know anything about offense. This is a credible offensive-minded head coach he's like, look, this is just how we ranked. And that's where this Tyler Shuck stock story changed. And I appreciate you listening to the show 2 weeks ago when we put that out there, because I remember even the beauty of having Chase is he does so much work on quarterbacks. And he usually likes to react to the information I have based on the work he's collected. So as soon as I said Tyler Shuck, he like freaked out because he had been seeing it in the film himself, but he hadn't heard of any teams in on the guy. So it was like his chance to be like, oh my gosh, I knew it. He's like, he's the most pro-ready player. Look, he's dealt with several significant injuries. He's 26 years old. There's tons of things that come with him. But if you're a team that's desperate to win right now, who needs a quarterback to come out and start for you and play and probably be able to make that transition pretty seamlessly, most around the league believe that is Tyler Shuck. So let's just take out that smart coach that said that Tyler Shuck is better than Cam Ward. By the way, this is the same coach who told me last year that Jaden Daniels was better than Caleb Williams. And I said, well, you're by yourself on that, buddy. Guess who was right?
Yeah.
For now, we'll see. So here I think generally speaking, it goes Cam Ward, Jaxson Dart, Tyler Shuck. Who am I missing?
Shedeur.
And then Shedeur.
Wow.
Yep.
So fourth.
And then Milroe. Yep. I feel comfortable saying that's the most common order I'm getting when speaking with teams. So look, it's hard to say because they're all looking for different things and every organization's got a different situation, different pressures. At this point, obviously different run offenses.
Dianna, if you set the over-under for 2.5 quarterbacks in the first round, what's a safer bet to you? Under 2.5 or over 2.5?
I'm taking the under. Chase told me yesterday he's taking the over. I'm going to take the under on this. The quarterback market is weak. I had a head coach say to me that there's not a lot of Robert De Niro's in this draft when it comes to quarterbacks, meaning there's not a lot of stars. Which, by the way, it actually made me start thinking, like, gosh, like, I get Robert De Niro's like a great actor, but like, there's got to be a younger actor.
Dianna, we spent 20 minutes on this quote yesterday. Just so you know, we are.
Oh my gosh! So you guys agreed with me? It's just like, really? Like, do we have another guy? Like, who is the Robert De Niro of our time?
Yeah, like the Leonardo DiCaprio, but that's also who's the hot guy. So here's the thing. No, that would have been a smart way to take the conversation, but Perloff and I sometimes are very stupid. No, we were talking about. I had a guess, listen, we were at one point in our lives, we were actual journalists like what you're doing now. And I know source guessing is the dumbest thing you can do because we have no idea and we're not going to get close. We're never going to get close. But we both had our guess on which coach actually said this.
Okay.
And where we disagreed. So I landed on Nick Sirianni. I know it's a little on the nose. I can see him and Big Dom together eating cheesesteaks, talking about Goodfellas. I know it's like a little too obvious, but I'm from upstate New York. I know Nick Sirianni. He's from a place that's like similar to me. We're the same age. Like I get that type of guy. But then Perloff and I got in a huge disagreement about could it have been Dan Campbell?
Right. Well, here, Maggie
that was the 20 minutes.
Maggie said he's too busy watching tape. I'm like, no way is Dan Campbell watching tape. He's watching Goodfellas on his couch and he's a football guy. He loves De Niro.
I'm flattered you guys read my column.
We loved it.
Let's just start there. Secondly, when I was taking notes when this person was telling me this, I remember writing Robert De Niro down and actually checking the spelling because I'm like, is it I, is it E? But at the same time, like, I think the way to approach it without digging in on who the source is, it ages you. Robert De Niro kind of ages you, right? So
not Sirianni. Okay,
that's my one hint. But I do appreciate you not. People, fans love to do the source game, and it drives me crazy.
Yeah.
And then I do like to. Yeah, that's what's funny is they're always so wrong. Mm-hmm. Just the way sometimes I think when players. Or even agents will put out information or tweet things themselves. I had a situation yesterday with George Kittle. People think because the player or the agent said it, then it must be fact. It's like Aaron Rodgers years ago. I don't want to be the highest paid player in football. Guess who was the highest paid player in football that year? It always shakes itself out, but nobody ever remembers it when it happens, you know what I mean? But in the moment, it's like, oh, that reporter, they're so dumb, they're wrong, they don't know anything.
No. I mean, something tells me that George Kittle did not show up yesterday because he, was still at WrestleMania. I think we all know why he wasn't there, anyway.
Yeah, I think the San Francisco 49ers were perhaps a little perplexed. Well, you're at WrestleMania, but you weren't here. Maybe something's not in line with how you like the way things are going. Now, look, for Kittle, to his defense, he's never attended OTAs, but he's always had really good communication with the 49ers from what I can understand and from even just remembering in the past. But I can tell you, I don't think anyone there was going, George Kittle's not here because he just doesn't come here. Most there understand this is a contract negotiation and this is how it works. And I reported that he wanted to be the highest paid tight end in football. And I understand why he wants to be. And he tweeted that was incorrect. And unfortunately, I think what happens sometimes when that's reported, when it's put out that's what you want, and maybe that doesn't wind up happening, usually that's where people get a little sensitive to it, because nobody wants to publicly cave. People would prefer to privately cave in these negotiations, so we'll see how it shakes out. I hope he gets paid all the money he wants. He deserves it, and we know he's a cornerstone of that team. So,
Dianna, tell us what you're up to today. Like, tell us everything, where people can see you, watch you, listen, read, all that stuff.
Thanks so much. Yeah, so the Athletic Football Show, we have our YouTube channel. You can check it out tonight at 7:30 Eastern. So here's what I suggest. So most people are going to watch the draft tonight on the NFL Network, on ESPN, and they should. It's a fabulous production. If you just throw YouTube on, it's going to be Robert Mays, Dane Brugler, a bunch of different people from The Athletic, along with some writers, just discussing what they know before these picks and essentially where they think this is headed. So it's just another way of getting some good analysis. And I'm going to be joining the show too before a few of these picks to give some intel of what I'm hearing right before they make their pick.
Can I just also say, offer some support for Chase? Because sometimes when you talk parenting and things on the podcast, I relate. You feel like, oh, this dumb guy, this dumb father. That's what I get from Maggie every day. I totally, the dynamic you guys have, I'm like, oh, I know that. Because you and Maggie are so similar.
Chase gets in my head more than I get in his head about the parenting. Chase is very detail oriented. He's very bright. And he has an incredible wife that they just do things the right way. They're very organized in particular. We are a hurricane home. And things are just flying all the time. And every day is like a new adventure. Like even this morning, my husband was early to the train and he called me. He's like, I don't know what to do. I'm not rushing. I said, go on Twitter. I don't know. Call your mother.
Call your mother. I'm sure that one
Don't
went over.
call me. I'm busy.
Dianna, you have just been absolutely awesome all the time. But this draft lead up has just cemented you as one of the top info and news breakers, and you're a great writer, and you are awesome for just being and making yourself available to us. We appreciate it so much. Have fun tonight.
Thank you so much, guys. Enjoy the rest of the day. Enjoy the draft, and I can't wait to see what the headline is for tomorrow. That's my favorite part of this, is trying to guess what is going to be the story. Will it be the New York Giants take a running back with their number 3? No, I'm just kidding. There is some chatter about that, but it's not happening. Okay,
Dianna,
guys.
thank you. Have fun
Thank
tonight.
you.
The Athletic draft show, which is cool. Second screen opportunity. We love those kind of things because, you get the, they're just not so beholden to like a TV rundown. You can do more in-depth conversations and take the conversation different ways. And that's really great.
Yeah.
I was also thinking about something when it comes to Dianna specifically, and you have a little experience with this because you worked for 12 years with somebody who was a star at ESPN, who then left and continued, and star only got bigger after leaving ESPN. That's really rare. You can almost count on one hand how many people that happened to. Dan Patrick, who obviously I'm talking about, Colin Cowherd. I think Dianna is in this mix. Bill Simmons.
And,
I think Dianna's in this mix.
Yep.
Rich Eisen, obviously, who's on our network, who's done amazing. She's there.
100,000%. Because you have to share a lot of spotlight at ESPN, and Dianna really gets she was great at ESPN too.
Oh, yeah. And if she ever went back there, it'd be fine. But here's the thing. It's like they will always tell you, we can replace you, or, you're just one of the pack. She's not.
Yep.
And it's amazing what she's done since she left, which I know is not an easy decision.
I'm actually a little busy Googling the ages of every NFL coach to figure out the De Niro thing. She gave us a strong hit. So we're looking at Sean Payton. We're looking at Mike Tomlin. We're looking at Jim Harbaugh.
Well, or Pete Carroll.
Pete
would be the oldest coach.
Yeah.
But he's at a Grateful Dead show, so I don't know if he was if she could hear him over, Shakedown Street.
But this actually, is this something Jim Harbaugh might say? Because if there's any interesting quote, Jim Harbaugh could have said it.
That's true. 888-710-4ISN. Again, it's stupid to guess sources. We're so far away. 888-710-4476. Coming up, Nick Kostos is going to join us. Let's get some draft props going, shall we?
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Still a little scar tissue for me when it comes to betting on the NFL draft. Pearl, I kid you not. I made 5 bets last year on the NFL draft.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one I got wrong because I didn't have Nick Kostos in my corner. And that's why we're fixing that this year, because I lost money. I was bummed out, even though I was excited watching the draft. Now, Nick Kostos, a host of You Better You Bet, BetMGM, Peacock, he's the best. Nick, I need help this year. Thank you for joining us. How you been?
What's going on? Doing great. Been a good couple months since NFL season ended, with the exception being the college basketball team in Durham, who's reached Voldemort status, like the school that shall not be named, losing to Houston in the Final Four. Was not a great result. Would have really liked that team to win the national championship, but we trudge on.
Oh, man, I followed that so closely, Nick, because you had a lot to gain if Duke had gone all the way.
It would have been very. It wasn't just me. It was a lot of people very invested in Duke. That was a bummer. But look, I've been saying it all week on the show, and I don't think you can actually say April is the best sports month because there's no football games being played. But we do have the NFL draft, and the buildup is great, obviously. But April's awesome with the Final Four, the national championship, the Masters, NBA and NHL playoffs, million games every night. It's a spectacular time to be a sports fan and a sports bettor.
I think that sometimes, you bet on Duke, you let the sports gods do what they're going to do. And I know they've won a lot, but there's also a large part of the population that loves to see them lose.
Great, screw those people.
Let's get to tonight. Again, I need help. I was so bad last year betting on the draft. I think we have a lot of questions for you, but the first is obviously about the quarterbacks, and the number set at 2.5 going in the first round. First of all, what do you think about that bet? Are you making this bet, and what are some of your favorite quarterback bets?
Yes, so I think the time to make this bet was probably last week, and you'll hear me say that a lot. Coming on Thursday to talk about the NFL draft, there will be bets that kind of pop up over the course of the day as new information becomes available. But a lot of the stuff has been sucked out of this market. So last week, over 2.5 quarterbacks was minus 300, under 2.5 are in the plus 250 range. Now under 2.5 is even money, plus 100 at BetMGM, which means if you bet $100, you win $100. Over 2.5 minus 130. I would lean with the under at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I think based on what everybody's saying, we know Cam Ward's going to go one. That's a fait accompli, a virtual lock, right? Cam Ward's going to go first. It feels like now Jaxson Dart is the guy that the Giants are eyeing to trade back into the first round to get. I had heard either Dart or Tyler Shuck over the last few days, and now it's not just Joe Shane's son with an Instagram post last night of Jaxson Dart highlights, but now all the prominent mock drafters have the Giants trading back into the end of the first round for Jaxson Dart. So I think we're going to get those two at the very least. And I think Dart, second quarterback, I think is probably a pretty decent bet. And I said this on You Better You Bet yesterday. It's really hard at this point to kind of sift through what's real and what's not. There's so much information, misinformation. It's lying season in the NFL. Coaches and GMs are lying every time they open their mouth, pretty much, trying to get information out there for whatever their ulterior motive might be. I think the one piece of information that I believe above all else is that Shedeur Sanders has alienated teams in the pre-draft interview process. I saw some people yesterday say, well, we see this every year during draft week where usually it's a quarterback gets slammed by anonymous scout or anonymous coach or GM, whatever. And it's unfair. You know, it happened to C.J. Stroud a couple years ago, and he went second overall. So people are kind of defending Shedeur Sanders. And my retort to that would be, this is not new with Shedeur. This has been out there since the scouting combine, literally like a week and a half after the Super Bowl ended. I have it on pretty good authority, and it doesn't mean that he could go third overall. I don't think he will. He could. I have it on pretty good authority that all that stuff is true. That Shedeur has kind of carried himself in a really arrogant way. Those are my words, not what was said to me. That's my interpretation of it. And that I would not be surprised if he fell out of the first round entirely. So only one guy I feel like is an absolute lock as a quarterback to go in the first round tonight. It's Cam Ward. Feels like Jaxson Dart would be the second. Could Shedeur go? Yes, of course he could. Shuck could go also. Jalen Milroe could go. But look, it's betting. It's probability. Maggie, I think under 2.5 would be where I would look on quarterbacks for tonight.
Is there any reason to take a flyer on a Tyler Shuck or a Jalen Milroe? What are the markets saying about those guys in the first round?
So yeah, I'm on BetMGM right now. I would have to go, I think, to a different domestic sports book to kind of find that stuff. If I had to bet one of those guys to go in the first round, so outside of Dart, who looks like he's probably going to go in the first round at this point, it would be Tyler Shuck. I had a source that I really trust, and like this. So this source 2 years ago had Charles Cross going to the Giants, or 3 years ago, and it turned out to be Evan Neal. So person's not always right, but has been right a number of times. Told me that the Browns covet Tyler Shuck. Now, I don't know if that means they trade back into the first round tonight. I don't know if that means tomorrow night at the top of round number 1. My best guess is 2 quarterbacks go tonight. It's Dart and it's Cam Ward. And then we see, and it's honestly, like for what we do, tomorrow's shows are going to be great because we're going to get to talk about all these quarterbacks going at the top of the second round tomorrow night. I would not bet Milroe to go in the first round right now. Shuck, I think, may be worth considering. And I think Shedeur's, at this point, I would guess Shedeur is more likely to fall out of the first round entirely than get drafted tonight. Also worth noting, Shedeur was invited to the draft and declined the invitation. That happened last week.
Okay, so I'm looking at a different sports book that I won't name right now, but I have some first round props for you. Shedeur's still minus 750 to go in the first round, according to this, and Tyler Shuck plus 300 to go in the first round. Does that line up?
What's the no on Shedeur?
Oh, it's only I only get to be drafted in the first round.
Yes, I'm not getting only the yes. The bet that will lose at crazy odds. Yeah.
Yes. This is why sports books make money.
Yeah, I would encourage people to find, and again, I'm sponsored by BetMGM. If you can find some kind of, and don't go crazy with these. So this, I want to say this also. Like the NFL draft is not a game, and when I say not a game, I don't mean that in like the colloquial expression. It's not a sporting event where the game starts and you have an opinion, and there's a bounce of the ball, or a player gets hurt, or the referee makes a bad call, and like your opinion on a game could be right. Our opinions have nothing to do with the NFL draft. It's you either have the goods or you don't. Like you either know what the general manager is going to do or you don't. Like one GM could think that Tyler Shuck is the best player in the draft and he could go 5th overall no matter what anybody thinks. So don't go crazy with these bets. Not that you can, the limits aren't that high, but if you could find some type of bet on Shedeur Sanders not to go in the first round and plus money, I think that's a bet worth making. Like do never lay that price for him to go in the first round. Never.
What about Ashton Genty? How high do you think he could end up going tonight?
Okay, so this is, I think, is the most fascinating thing right now as it regards the NFL draft is the Jacksonville Jaguars at 5. My best guess right now, after talking to some people that I trust, is that they stand pat and take Genty at 5. What I feel really good about saying, like stopping short of saying it's a lock, I will never say that. If the Jaguars are picking at 5, it's Genty. I feel really good about that. Now, Ian Rappaport of NFL Media last night on NFL Network said the Jaguars could be readying a move like up the board. If that's going to be the case, it is 100% for Travis Hunter at number 2. We've also heard that the Chicago Bears at 10, and I believe this, desperately want Ashton Genty. Like Ben Johnson wants Ashton Genty for his offense. And we have seen the betting market move off of these rumors that the Bears would go up to 5, the Jaguars would go back to 10, where Tet McMillan has been preemptively getting bet, the wide receiver out of Arizona, to go 10th overall, with the thought being Jacksonville moves back to 10 and would draft Tet McMillan, and Ashton Genty would just go 5th to the Chicago Bears. Jacksonville, I think, is a really interesting inflection point at 5. Perloff, I think that's the last spot that Genty is not falling past 5. My best guess at this moment right now is that the Jaguars stand pat and take Genty. Could things change? Definitely. But as of right now, 8:38 a.m., Genty goes 5th overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Of course, you know him, Nick Kostos, the host of You Better You Bet BetMGM Network, and is with us all football season, but we're delighted that we get to, access his brain today as we are betting on the first round of the NFL draft. Just to put some numbers behind it, the sportsbook I'm looking at, Ashton Genty, it's minus 225 right now to be drafted by Jacksonville. The Bears are plus 300.
And that number has kept climbing, Maggie, for context on Genty. Because with every mock draft that comes out from like from a prominent mock drafter, it's all Genty 5th overall. So that number has climbed. Like, that's the height of the market right now for Genty, just for some context there.
Thank you for that. Last one for me, and it's it's fun to do a couple long shot things, with the draft. I saw one that I liked that was kind of a long shot, Pearl, and it was Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders to both end up in Cleveland, which was just kind of a fun one. But again, I'm not putting my mortgage on it, but it's just kind of a fun one that I thought could be cool. And Nick, do you have a long shot or a fun one that you like, just for S's and G's?
Yeah, so I'll give you a couple, and it'll be first player drafted in these markets. The first would be, and the value is not what it was even 24 hours ago, but I still think that there's meat on the bone for these bets. The first would be first tight end drafted, Colston Loveland, not Tyler Warren. Put a gun to my head, like my life on the line. I would say Warren's more likely to be the first tight end drafted because he has more outs. Like, there's more ways for it to go right with Warren than Loveland. But all the buzz has been that Loveland's going way earlier than expected. All it takes is one team to make that happen. I think it's more likely than the betting market indicates that Colston Loveland is the first tight end selected, not Tyler Warren. The other would be in the first defensive back market. Now, BetMGM took this market down because it has been getting blasted recently, and I've been talking about it on You Better You Bet for weeks. So Will Johnson, the cornerback out of Michigan, was the favorite in this market basically the entire draft process. Will Johnson is slow, and I'm not saying he can't be great. I'm also not watching, is what people tell me. I'm not watching the film. He's slower. He didn't run because he's not fast, and he's a zone corner. Like, he can't play man coverage. So if you run a certain defensive scheme, he's great. But the idea that he was definitely going to be the odds-on choice to be the first defensive back drafted never made sense to me. I've been taking shots at other guys in this market for a little bit now. The two that I would say now, like Jahdae Barron, no, because Jahdae Barron has been getting bet into oblivion. I think that there's room. And we had Pete Prisco from CBS Sports on You Better You Bet yesterday, and he loves Maxwell Hairston out of Kentucky. Mm-hmm. Like, best number on Hairston to be the first defensive back drafted, and defensive back includes safety also. Nick Owanamori also. I think those two guys in tandem. Mm-hmm. And just in case people are wondering, well, what about Travis Hunter? Like, Travis Hunter is excluded from both the first defensive back and first wide receiver market. He's going second overall. So if you make those bets, like, Travis Hunter does not count.
Right.
So he gets drafted second, like the bet is still alive.
Nick, I asked you to put your fan hat on as a Giants fan real quick. I know you watch college football as closely as anyone I know. I did not see a first-round pick in Jaxson Dart at Ole Miss last year. Would you be excited as a Giants fan if they picked him?
I'm not going to claim to be like a quarterback guru. Here's what I would say. I think I subscribe to a different quarterback, like, team building philosophy than a lot of people. And I'm not a GM, obviously, but I think I'm right about this. I think you have to take enough shots at the position, and you keep taking those shots until somebody hits, because nothing else matters in the league unless you have a quarterback. Like, the whole point is to win a Super Bowl. You can't win one really unless you've got, like, at least a decently good quarterback. And Perloff, this is why I was saying last year, I don't care who the Giants take. McCarthy, Penix, Nix, May. It doesn't matter to me. You have to take shots at this position. I'm all for them taking Jaxson Dart. And it's less because I think Jaxson Dart's great and more because you have to keep trying to get that guy. And if it doesn't work out this year, and let's say, Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston stink, which they will, and then Dart plays, 7-8 games and he's bad, great. Then the GM and the coach are going to get fired. and you draft another quarterback in the first round next year. Like, you keep taking shots. Like, the idea that, well, we take Dart and now we can't take one next year, I think is ridiculous. When it's we all acknowledge it's the most important position and it's the one that matters the most, I think you keep taking swings until you get it right. I have no idea if Dart's better than Tyler Shuck, is better than Jalen Milroe, is better than Shedeur Sanders, is better than Cam Ward. I think they have to exit the first round tonight or the top of the second round tomorrow with the quarterback.
Nick Kostos, you can listen to him afternoons. You Better You Bet on the BetMGM network, and a busy night for you, Nick. So thank you so much for carving out some time for us today, and enjoy the first round of the draft.
Oh, yeah. And I just a complaint, if it's okay. Can I
you got 30 seconds. You got 30 seconds.
So last night we had there were a lot of games. If the games weren't great last night, tonight we Knicks Pistons, Nuggets Clippers. These are games we actually want to watch, and they're up against the NFL draft. I mean, how many screens are we going to have on tonight? I'm going to have the draft on the main screen. I'm a Knicks fan. I got the Knicks on a smaller screen. I got the Clippers. I mean, it's just it's a little frustrating, but still going to be a great night tonight.
I think somehow you're going to pull through. Nick, have fun. Enjoy the great night of betting.
Wishing everyone minimal sweats, winning bets, the absolute very best of luck.
Appreciate you, Nick, and hopefully I do a little bit better this year. Not to make it all about me, but I can't be any worse, quite frankly. Let's get to a quick break. Coming up, this is one you've got to hear. No clue. Is this good or is this bad? You be the judge. It's coming up next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Let's get right to Andrew Bogusch, who's got some headlines for us. If you missed Dianna Russini or Nick Kostos, who joined us earlier this hour, Maggie and Perloff podcast, the rewind function on the Odyssey app. We should mention SiriusXM channel 375. Bogues, what's good?
Mom, Dad, a 19-point third quarter lead was down to 2, so Donovan Mitchell took over.
Donovan Mitchell, right wing, 3. Bullseye! He's playing to win. Guts. That was a gutsy shot. Cavs by 7. Mitchell with 14 here in the fourth.
That's Tim Alcorn on Cavs Radio. Mitchell scored 8 straight points at one point, 17 total in the fourth, 30 for the game.
Like I said to y'all before, my job is just to lead in every single night in any way possible, and tonight was to go score.
That was Mitchell postgame on NBA TV. Cleveland held off Miami 121-112 for a 2-0 series lead. The Celtics took a 2-0 lead on the Magic without Jason Tatum and his bruised right wrist. Jaylen Brown scored 36 in the 109-100 final. And the Rockets now even with the Warriors after a 109-94 decision in Houston. Jalen Green scored 38 and helped hold Steph Curry to just 20 points with 6 turnovers. Golden State also dealing with Jimmy Butler's bruised pelvis. He was accidentally undercut while in the air for a rebound late first quarter. Did not return and will have an MRI back in San Francisco. Playoff hockey last night. The Stars clipped the Avalanche 2-1 in OT in Denver for a 2-1 series lead. The Oilers dumped the Kings 6-2. The Caps topped the Canadiens 3-1. LA and Washington have 2-0 series lead. And ahead of that NFL draft, the Chargers and Lions headed for the Hall of Fame game in late July in Canton. Neither one of them has been in that game since the early 90s.
Football in July?
Wow.
That's awesome. I did not see that. I love the Hall of Fame game just because it's like, it's a terrible game, but it's like, hey, football's back.
It's like 8 triggers. Wait, can I ask quick, why would you have an MRI on a hip contusion? I wonder if maybe...
You want to see if something's broken.
But no, that's an X-ray. I'm wondering, is it possible he pulled a muscle on his hip when he landed? Because I just don't totally understand this injury.
Well, I do think that, though, sometimes you take an MRI because X-rays can not tell you the whole picture.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder
you can see a broken bone on
my question
MRI.
Is it possible that he screwed up his hip, like really screwed it up?
Or his back, like from the shock of falling on his tailbone? I don't know.
Soft.
Oh, my gosh. You tell Jimmy Butler he's soft.
Back away from Mike.
Listen, I'm allowed to say anything to anybody who left the Sixers.
Yeah, he would have stayed. That wasn't his fault.
We
you
wanted
guys made a
Tobias
mistake.
Harris.
Yeah.
The analytics guys love Tobias.
Which is funny because with Perloff saying, it's just a funny image of Perloff calling anyone soft. It's just like, LOL.
What are you talking about? I played through more injuries than any human being alive.
To your pinky.
Injuries from a pickup game.
Did you see this finger lately?
Okay,
I look
sorry.
like Brian Baldinger.
Pinky and ring finger.
I look like Brian Baldinger right now.
But it's just funnier as if the visual, and I know a lot of us are just listening to us on radio, but Perloff today is elected for his Rob Lowe style, just NFL hat. Like rah, we're rooting for all 32 teams today.
It's an NFL referee hat. That's what it is. Like the head referee.
Yeah, like Walt Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That'll be 15 yards for giving him the business. What was that? Remember that famous quote of the Jets game?
Oh, yeah.
I saw this in a vintage hat, and I'm like, this is the coolest hat.
He's giving them business down there.
We do have some audio. Is it good? Is it bad? You be the judge. Also, Peter King has sat in more draft war rooms than anyone outside of like an actual NFL GM. He's going to join us next. He'll give his thoughts on the draft and some fun draft memories. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
NFL draft's like a holiday around here. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. We love it. We live for it, and it's finally here. And even in a draft pro that people are saying no superstars, no Robert De Niro's, as Dianna Russini told us earlier, it still has plenty of intrigue because we have no idea where Shedeur Sanders is going. We have no idea if he's going to drop out of the first round. And Travis Hunter is one of the most electrifying draft prospects that we've seen in quite some time. So we're excited. Let's waste no time, though, and get to our next guest, who is an award-winning sports writer and journalist and television personality and has been in more war rooms than most GMs in the league. And that is the one and only Peter King. Peter, thanks for doing this. How many war rooms did you sit in all those years doing working for Sports Illustrated? How many do you think?
11. And Maggie, that became sort of my forte over the years, that I'm not really into going to the draft. I went to the draft a few times, but it's so homogenized. There's not a lot of individual stuff you can do. So, I used to pride myself in finding a war room. And in 2016, Jerry Jones, you have time for a quick story?
Hell yeah.
In 2016, it was the Ezekiel Elliott draft in Dallas. But remember that year where the Dallas Cowboys late in the fourth round look into Dak Prescott. But after they picked Ezekiel Elliott in the first round, I'm sitting there watching, and it was unbelievable. Stephen Jones gets on the phone, calls 19 different teams trying to move up to get Paxton Lynch later in the first round. And so Jerry is pacing. He's going back and forth. Come on, we got to do it. And he wanted to sweeten the pot. And everybody else in the room is thinking, geez, Jerry, he's not that good. So anyway, they don't end up getting him. The next day, the next day, Jerry says to me, I've overpaid for everything that's great in my life, and we should have overpaid and moved up and gotten Paxton Lynch. He was angry, really angry. And so just goes to show you, sometimes the best deals are the ones you don't make.
What are the
Paxton Lynch probably coaching high school somewhere. I don't even know where he is. Sorry, go ahead, Carl.
What are the ground rules when you're in that war room? Do they say you're allowed to say this or not that? What are you allowed to report?
Well, it varies. Some people just say, hey, say whatever you want. But one time with one team, I won't name it, I made a deal. I said, hey, listen, you have 3 off the records in the course of the next 7 hours. You got 3 off the records. Everything else, I can't have everything being struck from the record. And at the end of the night, I looked at the GM and the coach and I said, well, what can I say? What's your 3 off the records? And they go, we don't have a single one. So sometimes, look, there are sometimes that I've heard things in there that I haven't written out of respect to the team allowing me in, like, oh, F this guy, or those, they reneged on a deal, F them, if I put that in, there's a good chance somebody reads it next year and said, shoot, we say that kind of stuff in our draft room all the time, so we're not going to let this guy in.
Yeah, also you could do all this reporting and be there and get all this cool stuff, and the headline's going to be so-and-so MF'd so-and-so, and that's like the one thing that gets out of the whole column. Peter King is joining us, award-winning journalist and NFL writer and TV personality, and on draft day, who else would you want to talk to? You know, Peter, I'm fascinated by this. Perloff and I don't agree on a lot of what's around Tom Brady, about being a decision maker with the Las Vegas Raiders. Perloff's like, he's not grinding film. He's not looking at tape at North Dakota left tackles. I think he is, because I think he's really competitive, and I think he likes this team building thing. You know Brady well. You've spent time with him. What do you think his MO is like as a front office person and talent evaluator?
I would be shocked if he's not watching tape. You know, he's just not. He is not going to go into something like this in a half-assed way. And I'm not saying he's looking at every guy, but I will guarantee you that he's looked at 8 or 10 games of the running back from Boise State, of all the quarterbacks, because obviously, look, I mean, the Raiders are kidding themselves if they think that Geno Smith's their quarterback for the next 6 or 8 years. He is probably the definition of a stopgap, no matter how much money they gave him. So Tom Brady is looking at tape. Now, is he looking at left tackles? Is he looking at, I don't know. Yeah. But I will guarantee you he's looking at some tape. Absolutely.
Do you think he's in the war room for the Raiders the whole time?
I would bet he'd be there, at least for the first 2 days.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't surprise me if he was in there all 3 days. I mean, Saturday is a long, long process. Now, it could be that Brady says, hey, I really like the quarterback from Louisville. I want to get him. And sitting there in the draft room, maybe this guy is available, at the start of round 4. And he says, we got to go get this guy. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to be doing with him.
Well, Peter, what have your relationship been like with Deion Sanders over the years? Now, Shedeur is the story of the draft. I imagine you probably have gotten to know him over the years so well. We've been arguing, is Deion a lot to bring in the building if you draft Shedeur Sanders? If you're a team that's going to draft him, are you a coach that's worried I'm going to have Deion Sanders over my shoulder because he's got such an outsized personality?
It's a good question. Look, every year that Shedeur Sanders has ever played the sport of football, his coach has been his father. So it's probably unrealistic to think that wherever he goes, he's not going to be around at all. If you're Deion, you have to be thinking, okay, I just got to walk away. I got to stop being the helicopter dad. But I don't know what he's going to do. I knew Deion quite well when he was a player. I remember, one of my most vivid memories is meeting him in a hotel room in Pittsburgh in 1992 in August, when he was in the throes of that decision, whether he's going to be a corner for the Falcons, a left fielder for the Braves, or some combination of both. And he was tormented by it. And so, and we ended up doing a cover of Deion with a half in a Braves hat, half in a Falcons helmet, and his face there. It was perfect, done by SI. So I've known him pretty well over the years, but I don't really have any idea what his role is going to be going forward.
Peter King is joining us, of course, award-winning journalist and football writer and TV personality, and was in 11 different war rooms over his career, which is so cool and something that football fans would only dream of, Peter. And, you definitely know the Giants well. This is, one of the places along with Cincinnati where you really, kind of catapulted your career into a totally different stratosphere. Knowing the Maras, kind of knowing the way the Giants operate, do you think the Deion part scares them off at all? Because, listen, they brought Eli Manning in, moved heaven and earth, and he had a very famous father, not the same personality as Deion, Archie, but still, they never shied away. In fact, that was a positive for Eli Manning.
Yeah, I think that obviously John Mara is desperate to get his quarterback of the future. It seems like that probably isn't Shedeur Sanders. And obviously there's a lot of buzz about them trying to move up to the lower first round. And if you really believe in Jaxson Dart or whoever you really believe in, then you have to be aggressive to try to go get him. There's no doubt about it. And my feeling is that Joe Schoen will be aggressive to try to go get him. Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll have an expiration date on themselves. They know it. They know the way the league works. But as far as knowing what they're going to do, I don't know. George Young's not the general manager anymore, and Bill Parcells isn't the coach. So I don't exactly have a lot of lines into the building the way I used to. But the one thing I do know is that, John Mara, who's going to be like his father, and his father was extremely involved in the process. He didn't tell George Young or Bill Parcells what to do at all, but they knew from his outsized presence what he wanted them to do.
Peter, I know as a fact that you don't follow this, but you know that people get graded on their mock drafts now. And when your last mock draft dropped, was an important thing. Can you just tell the story? And is it true that Dr. Z, our good friend Paul Zimmerman, the late Paul Zimmerman, had a perfect mock draft one year?
No, I don't think that's true. I think he had one year he had a really good mock draft. 2000. Where he hit on, I don't know, like 11 or 12. I remember one year a long time ago when general managers would actually confide in you instead of trying to smoke screen you. I remember one year where it was the Troy Aikman year. I got the first 9 picks correct.
Wow.
And I think probably Zim had a couple of those, but Andrew, it's changed. It's changed massively that people just hide. I think it started when Mike Shanahan, the year he picked Jay Cutler, was that 2006? It really started in earnest then because Mike Shanahan didn't tell Pat Bowlen, the owner of the team, until that morning what they were doing. And Jay Cutler, sitting there in Nashville, had 10 hats ready to put him on, one of those 10 hats, and he did not have a Denver Broncos cap on. He was utterly, absolutely shocked when they picked him. But Shanahan knew which way the wind was blowing, in that, there's no reason for people, even in your own building, to know what you're doing once you've decided. One guy has decided what you're going to do. So I don't think you should get mad at anybody. The thing, Andrew, over the years that I shake my head at, and I always fought when I was editor of the MMQB from 2013 to 2018, is the proliferation of mock drafts. Do a mock draft in April. Stop the silly exercise, the absolute total clickbait crapola of doing mock drafts the previous November, when A, you don't know who's coming out, and B, you have no idea what the draft order is.
Peter King is joining us. Talk to Perloff about that. He'll pull his car over to the side of the road to read a mock draft in December. But Peter, just a couple more for you. And again, thanks for doing this with us. This is fun to talk to you on draft day because it's so important for so many people. This is just exciting. Travis Hunter. I mean, even you were just talking about Dion and being the two-sport athlete. This isn't exactly the same, but, shades of playing both sides and both ways. Looks like the Browns, are right there if you follow the betting markets at least. What do you expect from Travis Hunter? And, the Browns to me are such a wild card because, to be honest, they don't get the benefit of the doubt from me of being a great organization that's going to handle this correctly. How do you view it?
Well, ever since they went far overboard in what they did to get Deshaun Watson, you're absolutely right. Nobody at that time should have let Deshaun Watson in the building for a deal like that. I can understand you letting Deshaun Watson in the building, but paying him a fully guaranteed contract, which was the only way, let's face it, that Cleveland was going to get him. He didn't want to go to Cleveland. I mean, Deshaun Watson, if he writes his memoir or whatever, if somebody does one day, he'll say in there, that's the last team I wanted to go to. But at the end of the day, they offered him the most guaranteed money. So it becomes a no-brainer. But ever since then, they've been absolutely in the wilderness about quarterbacks and really about everything else. This is, to me, the perfect pick for them. The only thing is, I would just say this, and I know that everybody is going to say, man, you can't do that in pro football. Why? Why can't you do that? You know how great a football player Chuck Bednarik was, back in the late 50s and 60s? He would play every snap of the game. And, I don't think there's a reason why you can't do this. And I'm not saying that every game you play every snap. Sometimes you're going to get nicked up and all that stuff. But I think they should do what Travis Hunter wants. I think he should play as much as possible on both sides of the ball.
Peter, why are there teams that just struggle for so many years? Is there a common ingredient that you ever found, teams like Cleveland that have struggled really for 25 years now? Why is it certain teams just can't get out of the basement or are always picking the top 10, it seems like?
Desperation. You can't run a football team based on desperation. Look at the Baltimore Ravens. Look at their history of almost always letting franchise-type players walk. Terrell Suggs, comes to mind. We could think of 15 of them. And the reason that they do that is they say, okay, we'll take the short-term pain for the potential long-term gain. Because for most of these guys who we let go, they're so good that we're going to get a 3rd or 4th round draft pick in return. We trust our scouting process. And especially when you have a quarterback, you can afford to be patient. And I think the key to football is right now, get the quarterback and then exhibit all kinds of patience. That's what Eric DeCosta and the Ravens do.
Peter, last one from me. And again, this is awesome to talk with you on the day of the draft. I always loved in your training camp columns, you always made Latrobe, Pennsylvania seem like Rome or Paris or something, for football fans like us. Latrobe and the Steelers training camp always held like a special mystique. You know the Steelers well. Do you think Aaron Rodgers would be a fit in that organization?
Well, the way I look at it is, Maggie, the Pittsburgh Steelers, maybe if Mike Tomlin goes 6-11 this year, maybe they're not going to let him go. But at some point, after 8 straight years of not winning a playoff game, at some point, you're a professional organization aiming to go to the Super Bowl. And right now, as much as they might want to hold their nose to do it, the best way to do that is by taking a chance and bringing in a 41-year-old quarterback. I mean, what would you rather do? Would you rather bring in a 41-year-old quarterback? Maybe they think that you give Shedeur Sanders the job on opening day and let's go, which I would understand. But I think that you saw enough in Aaron Rodgers last year that you would think, especially with DK Metcalf there, he'd have a chance to succeed. Now, it's no lock, it's no guarantee, but I'm just saying, what gives the Pittsburgh Steelers the best chance to win this year? Aaron Rodgers, a rookie quarterback, Mason Rudolph. I mean, to me, it's pretty obvious, unless you're convinced that Shedeur Sanders can take the job opening day and go.
Peter, be honest. Are you going to watch more NFL draft tonight or more Major League Baseball?
I don't know what games are on tonight, but I'll definitely. I love day one of the draft. Except Maggie, last year I knew everybody. This year, I don't know who half these guys are because I haven't studied it at all. I certainly won't watch Friday or Saturday. But the draft is fun. And, look, can I just say one last thing quickly? Yeah. It's interesting. 10 years ago, I thought the NFL was making a terrible mistake in traveling the draft. Mm-hmm. Remember, they have the draft in 2014 at Radio City, and then they say Radio City is undergoing repairs, renovations. So we got to move the draft, at least for the next 2 years. So a lot of people were saying, go to Barclays Center, go to Madison Square Garden, stay in New York. I was among them. And then you see what the draft has become. And it is just so great for fans. It's so great for football. Maggie, the first draft that I ever covered, I wasn't in New York. There was 125 people in a hotel ballroom in Midtown Manhattan.
Yep.
And this week in the little city of Green Bay, there's going to be 300,000 or 400,000 people. It's just cool.
Yeah.
And, the NFL criticized them for a lot of things. Roger Goodell criticized them for a lot of things, but they deserve the praise for moving the draft around.
I saw a quote from Pete Rozelle in 1979 saying, "Why are you going to put the draft on TV? No one's going to watch that." So I don't know if it was, I think it was more by accident that they tripped into this great event.
I don't think it was by accident. I think they knew that that by moving the draft and moving it around, it would become even more of a tentpole event for the league in the off season, and it has.
No, I meant by Rozelle. I don't think they knew that it would be a great TV product back 50 years ago. Or
No way. But also, after the 83 draft, the Marino Elway draft, the next year, Andrew, honestly, ESPN left the draft in the second round. You know what they went to? A tractor pull. And I'm telling you that the big thing about the draft is the exposure, the Mel Kiperization of the draft. And, it's just a cool thing to have seen it grown up like this.
Peter, enjoy it tonight. Have fun watching. And again, appreciate you doing this. Peter King, always love to pick your brain. And again, thank you. Talk soon.
Thanks, Peter.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys.
So fun. Man, all 11 war rooms he was in, including Cowboys. I mean, all those
Amazing.
years.
And that, I think it was interesting. When I was at SI, some people said, well, why don't you send the reporters to the draft? And Peter was very adamant. He's like, that is the real action is in the field. And he was absolutely right. And he always had the best stories.
No doubt. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. We're asking you, how much do you think the Deion Sanders of it all is impacting Shedeur's supposed drop? Now it's possible he's not even going in the first round, which is crazy considering what we thought only a couple weeks ago. All right, Maggie and Perloff, don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff. What a great show. Lots of draft info. It's so fun to talk to Peter King. Back in the day, I used to edit his mock drafts, and I got to tell you, when Peter King put something in a mock draft, that meant he heard it from a GM. It was funny. He was complaining about too early. I disagree with that. Well, I can't wait till Monday to see the next year's mock draft. I'm all about that. We already know that Cam Ward's going number one. Tell me where Cade Klubnik's going to go, and then you got my attention, the Clemson quarterback.
Now you're back in.
But I do think, by the way, teams, you're hearing a lot about that. Teams are looking at next 2 years and be like, it's not just – I disagreed with Nick Kostos, you bet, earlier in the show. If you draft Jaxson Dart now, that means you are not going to necessarily be in next year's draft. There's an opportunity cost. If it's not a great quarterback class and you're like, well, you got to take a quarterback, that means you're not going to get a shot next year. And I think that could be a mistake. I think it could burn you.
Yeah, Nick was saying that if he was a GM, he would just take constant, throw 100 darts up against the wall, 100 Jaxson darts up against the wall.
That's good.
I get it, but you're right. Like if you take Jaxson Dart this year, if you're the Giants, and you got to give a rookie a little time to develop, right, before you draft someone else right behind him. And is that a good way to build a team?
Well, there was a big report that the Steelers are infatuated with the next two quarterback classes, and that's why they might not take Shedeur Sanders, which would explain some things.
Right. I think it was Jeremy Fowler who had that one from ESPN, that they're kind of they're looking at the 2026 draft and thinking, do we get our person there? But you know what? Then you ratchet up the necessity, I would say, for either Aaron Rodgers or Kirk Cousins, right? Unless you feel like you can go into the season with Mason Rudolph. But I thought that Peter said something kind of like pretty interesting. He's like, can Mike Tomlin hasn't won a playoff game in 8 years now. At some point, does that begin to build? Yeah,
right. We had that debate. Does he have a lifetime contract? But this Jeremy Fowler report puts a longer time frame on it where they might be willing to sacrifice this year. I actually heard rebuild, not from Peter, but what if they sacrifice this year and go 4-13? That's what they need to do. They need a top 10 pick finally. It's been 40 years. I made that up. What was Big Ben? 2004. And they were at 11 that year, I think. 11 or 12 where they got Ben. It's been forever. He hasn't had a losing season.
Yeah,
he doesn't even know what they are.
And Ben was coming out of Miami of Ohio. I know that he was, it's not like they were picking the, UCLA quarterback or something.
He should have gone 1 in that draft, by the way. That's a hot take. He's better than Eli. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Yeah.
Rivers, but the only reason he didn't was because he's from Miami of Ohio.
Yeah, 888-710-4ISN. Really cool. If you missed our interview with Peter King, if you missed our interview with Dianna Russini, if you missed our interview with Nick Kostos, it's all available for you on the free Odyssey app. You can hit the rewind function or the Maggie Perloff podcast, which is great. All right, we got to play some audio for you because I can't tell if this is one of the best things I've ever heard or one of the worst. I love it when teams get kind of superstitious a little or when they find a gimmick, Perloff, and it works, and so they keep going back to it. So the LA Kings had this local harmonica group perform the national anthem in game 1. Well, what happened? You guys remember how crazy that was, right? They end up winning the game even though they blew a 4-goal lead, and then they won anyway. So game 2, they brought back the harmonica people. I ask you when you listen to this, are these people actually good at playing the harmonica or bad at playing the harmonica? You be the judge. Now the singing's kind of drowning it out a little bit, but I beyond like Bob Dylan, I don't really know too much about the harmonica. Is that considered good or bad?
I keep asking the wrong person. I'm not sure.
Bogusch?
I mean, was that the direct feed from the harmonica or just somebody in the stands recording them?
Oh, you think it was an audio issue?
It seemed a little off key at some point, though.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that supposedly good? Because when someone sings, we know whether it's good or bad. Harmonica, I don't know.
And John Popper plays the harmonica, and Eddie Vedder every once in a while too, but it's usually like over guitars and drums. There's supporting sounds around them. They're not harmonica.
Mick Jagger
solos. The bigger story of this, I don't know if you're going to mention this, but this group originally declined game 2 for rest. They were load managing, and this was a fairly last minute decision to actually come in and do game 2.
We have audio of this.
Apparently they were playing hardball, but they worked out a deal before puck drop. They got there for game 2, another 6-burger. So this has to continue at home if you're the LA Kings.
That's Paul Bissonnette, who was a guest on this show only a week ago. Apparently, Paul very into the harmonicas. We have more from him.
It was fabulous. I watched it in real time, and I was like, okay, not sure if exactly that's how you fire up a squad before a playoff game. But then when you saw the clips of the live version and how much the crowd was into it, I'm like, this is what you needed.
They can't decline. First of all, the series is going to go back to Edmonton, so they're going to have a little bit of time to get their lungs back or whatever, their legs under them. I don't know what you would say.
Me neither, because
it's got to be lungs.
Yeah, your lungs back into it.
What? Is the harmonica that labor intensive that you can't take the day off between games 1 and 2?
Also, do you have to practice? You're playing the same song.
Here's the issue with the people that are playing the harmonica. That's actually a senior citizen center located in Koreatown in LA. So, I mean,
so they're old.
They're a little bit older, so they need a little bit more time to get oxygen in the lungs.
Okay.
But here's the thing. I mean, maybe you're being ageist, but I guess you're not because of what Paul said. But here's the thing. There's like 8 of them up there. It's like a choir of harmonicas. I'm doing that wrong. But it's not one person has to carry the load here.
I'll answer your question. I'll answer your original question. This was bad. This was not good. Because I feel like I've seen harmonicas just out there on Atlantic Avenue or in Jamaica Avenue in Queens. People just a homeless guy just going ham on the harmonica. I'm like, this guy's kind of dope. I gotta give him $1. It sounded way better than that because harmonicas, you can do some really cool stuff with it. We were in New Orleans for Super Bowl. You walk down Bourbon Street, you'll see people on the harmonica doing amazing things. Look, God bless old people, but my nana would say. But that was mid.
How dare you guys talk down on the harmonica class from the Koreatown Senior and Community Center? How dare you guys?
I love Koreatown, by the way, in LA.
But they're not even professional harmonica players.
Nah, these are just a bunch of old dudes at their house.
They're killing time before you know what.
Just picked up a hop.
Hey,
Okay.
wait a minute.
All right.
I'm glad they're out here doing something, but I got to be honest. Like, you're in now. You can't do this. It's professional sports or sports in general. Once you get wrapped into some kind of playoff run, you can't be derelict in your duty. Ask Sister Jean. You think she could have just all of a sudden decided, I don't want to go show up at a Loyola game?
She can't do that.
No, this
You're
is
in.
this is on them. This is on the Kings. Like just like any NHL team or hockey or football team or basketball team, you can't rely on old vets to carry you to the Stanley Cup. You need young people.
How about this? I've got an idea. It's LA. It's the Kings. They've got money. They've got prestige. They've got celebrity fans. You bring back what are they called? The Senior Center from K-Town?
That's the harmonica class from the Koreatown Senior and Community Center.
Get John Popper or whatever from Blues Traveler or whoever is now the great harmonica player of our generation and have him or her stand up there and lead them and let's go, Kings.
The best harmonica player of this generation might be Paul Bissonnette because at the end of that clip, he took out a harmonica and started playing that thing. Not very well, but he started to play it.
Well, he's got his rooting interests with the Toronto Maple Leafs, so he can't cross over.
That's true. That's true as well.
But it's a good idea. I didn't know that he played the harmonica. We'll talk about that with him
I don't
next
think
time.
he plays the harmonica. I think he just pulled one out and just started blowing into that
He
thing.
owns a harmonica. Well, there's nothing. I think of all the instruments, if you don't know how to play them well and you try anyway, harmonica's up there as most annoying, as I'm realizing.
But on the flip side, it kind of feels easy to make an acceptable noise on the harmonica. Maybe not a song that people know, but like, I don't know, like you can't just pick up and play the guitar.
Supposed to play it, don't eat it.
But I could do that. That's good enough.
You play the spoons next?
Yeah.
Who was that?
Yeah,
that was Biz.
That was Bissonnette. Oh, wow. Okay, he's not that bad. He's good.
Get a little tambourine and away we go.
How much free time does that guy have?
A lot.
I feel like he didn't have much until you just played that. Bogusch has headlines for us. What's up?
Well, this isn't weird at all. Kristaps Porzingis took a Goga Batadze elbow to the forehead in the third quarter in Boston last night. Lay on the court with blood rolling down his head, got up, left the floor for a minute, came back to shoot free throws, and then got 5 stitches. It's exactly how head coach Joe Mazzulla would draw it up.
I do. I love watching him. I like watching him bleed on the court. I think it's important. And then he comes back in and does his job.
I like watching him bleed as if it happens often.
Is this guy on some kind of FBI watch list at this point? I mean, I think he should be. Celtics head coach, champion head coach Joe Mazzulla. I'm a little worried about the search history now. Liking to watch people bleed, especially your own players who are going to be paramount and you repeating as champ.
He brings a football mentality to basketball. It's great.
I don't think he's a football coach who wants to watch their player bleeding out.
Of course they do. That's part of the process. I actually, I said earlier, nobody repeats in the NBA. This kind of craziness might just get the job done. I mean, honestly, you watched that team last night. They didn't seem to even miss Tatum. They're really good.
I know. I think that has a little something to do with the Magic. The blood was streaming down his head. The fact that he liked that or even pretends to like that shows that he's a psycho, which is why Manny played the psycho music.
No.
He's a psycho.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't taste
remember
it.
John Ritchie, our buddy? Every game he would bleed because he's got these growths in his head. It was it was like the ultimate football guy move. I think Mazzulla is bringing the right kind of energy. I like that.
He looked like he was about to bleed out, and he had the streaks of blood through his hair.
Thank God. Porzingis has needed to get tougher since the day he walked in the NFL. Joe Mazzulla is the best thing ever. Yeah.
He stood up for the Patriots next.
I guess in Missoula's defense, Porzingis did enjoy it as well.
I love my WWE moments for sure. It just happens in the game, and you know me, I always love it.
No one makes me bleed my own blood. Porzingis finished with 20 points, 10 rebounds. Jaylen Brown threw in 36. The Celtics beat the Magic 109-100 without Jason Tatum and his bruised right wrist. That's a 2-0 series. So is Cavs Heat. Cleveland a 121-112 win last night. Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland combining for 18 fourth quarter points, 51 for the game. And the Rockets roughed up the Warriors 109-94 in Houston to level that series at 1. Jimmy Butler suffered a pelvic bruise on a nasty fall late first quarter and did not return. Now a quick fast forward to next season. The Knicks and Sixers will play 2 preseason games in Abu Dhabi in early October.
Show trip.
And while we're speaking of the Knicks, congrats to Jalen Brunson for winning whatever is Clutch Player of the Year yesterday.
Don't be bad. Don't be sad, you sad man. You old sad man.
Make this make sense. The Dallas Stars have only led for 62 seconds of regulation through 3 games of the Avalanche, yet they lead the series 2-1.
Mason Marchment on the forehand, pass, shot, score! Score! Tyler Seguin! The Stars have done it!
Tyler Seguin scoring in overtime. Second straight OT win for Dallas. A 2-1 final last night in Denver. Again, for that 2-1 series lead. The Caps held on for a 3-1 home win over Montreal. The Kings ran away from the Oilers. A 6-2 win. Washington and LA have 2-0 series lead. Far from that good hockey, the Rangers have signed GM Chris Drury to a multi-year extension because they were so good this year and didn't have to fire their head coach.
Andrew Bogusch, why'd they do that?
I don't know.
They should have never fired John Davidson.
Because he does what James Dolan wants, so he gets extensions.
I would do whatever James Dolan wants too if I got a ticket to the Garden every day.
Maggie, your thoughts?
I'm going to stay far away from that one. Bogusch, thank you so much. Guys, I've got something for you. I know that this is really important for draft day, but how about this? Our long national nightmare may possibly be over. Hallelujah. I'll tell you what I'm talking about next. It's Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Make it right. Jay in Nashville.
Peter Baloney, he made a prediction, said that he gonna win. Celtics got no conviction, but now he's hiding, running away, won't own up to his words, can't face the dismay. He thought Miami would rise like the sun in the sky, but now he's got excuses, got no alibi. He thought the Heat had it, it was a sure bet, but they couldn't handle Boston, not just yet. Peter Baloney, where you at now? You made a bold choice, but where's your wow? Can't stand the heat in the kitchen, your predictions cold. You're playing hide and seek, leaving us in the fold. You're playing hide and seek, leaving us in the fold. Bogusch weeps, he's got the road trip blues, left behind, feeling like he's bound to lose. Perloff's off to San Antonio, can't believe his eyes, but Bogusch stuck at home, his heartache amplifies. Betting against Wembanyama, Perloff took the fall, but it's Bogusch left behind, feeling 10 feet tall. A loser in his own right, can't catch a break. Road trip dreams shattered, for good left behind, feeling like he's bound.
1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. All right, draft's here, and I'm excited because there's a guy who I was not that familiar with. I remember watching him a little bit because he's impossible to miss, but he's being given a nickname that I love because also what it may represent. His name is Desmond Watson. He
Big
played.
Des.
Yep, real big. He played at the University of Florida. Measurables: 6'6", 464 pounds.
Damn.
He's being called the Tush Push Terminator.
Whoa.
And perhaps our long national nightmare of Perloff's
Thank God.
team, the Philadelphia Eagles, riding the Tush Push straight to the Super Bowl, may be over if we can get more Desmond Watsons in the world who can come in and blow up the Tush Push. Now, the odd thing would be is if the Eagles draft him. But anyway, we think he might be a third.
Put that in the universe.
It's going to happen now.
All right. Well, my bad. Looking like a day 3 pick. Was on that Florida defensive line. 6'6", 464 pounds. The Tush Push Terminator. Long may he reign.
Well, Howie Roseman went to Florida, but he only drafts Georgia players. So I don't think he's coming to Philadelphia.
Right. I mean, you got to hold tight to those college rivalries.
Yeah.
Get a little nervous?
About the Tush Push stopper? No, not at all.
But teams are going to start to adjust. Like, this is what it means.
No,
You know, is this a guy 464 pounds? That's a heavy playing weight.
There is no adjustment. And this guy, I feel so bad for these guys. They never, ever, ever make it. Remember the kid out of
Mike Girth
Wisconsin
is
was
rather
500
large.
pounds? Yeah. No, there's no stopping the Tush Push. In fact, there's no stopping any QB sneak. They all hit at 90%. So it's a silly conversation. Yeah. It's a cute name, though.
I'm trying to think, how heavy was like Haloti Nada? How heavy was Vince
Nada,
Wilfork?
actually, Nada, I don't think was like super fat. Vita Vea is way bigger than
I feel
him.
like Ted Washington was one of like the biggest guys I can remember. He
Obviously,
was like 370.
Yeah,
So Haloti Nada,
Gilbert
6'4", 340.
What about Vince Wilfork?
Yeah,
Wilfork,
Vince was
Gilbert
huge.
Brown on the Packers. Remember him?
But
He was-
Wilfork was fantastic.
Yeah. But there's a kid out of Wisconsin who famously went in the draft, I think, at 480, and he did not work out.
Oh, well, Wilfork, very light, being listed at 325.
That's has
just
to be
not
inaccurate.
true.
No.
How big is
Football
the-
reference, you lie.
Remember in Buffalo Bill, Sam Adams? He was big.
Yes,
Yeah.
Sam Adams
Oh,
was
yeah.
gigantic.
That was a
Scored a
position.
touchdown.
That was a big position, the huge fat guy.
I think that guy's coming back to be the Tush Push Terminator. If this guy, Desmond
Yeah.
Watson, again, 464 pounds, he's not going to be able to play at that. But if he can, if you can have a little success here, this is going to come back in as copycat league, bro.
BJ Raji, 337. That's another
Yeah.
big dude.
Well,
Yeah, the
now
Packers,
the guy,
the Packers are the ones that want to eliminate the Tush Push, ironically.
Oh, yeah. Hey, look at that.
is it the big guy now, DeJuan Jones on Cleveland? He's He's really. I think he's well over 400. Which it stinks. I don't even think this is that funny because like these guys are in big trouble.
He benched the 225 36 times.
Yeah,
it's good.
DeJuan Jones is 375.
How about this? This guy Desmond Watson
on a light day,
464 and 6'6". He ran a 5.9 340. That's pretty good for a big dude.
That's horrible. It's like got to be the worst. That's terrible, right? Is there anything
it's
worse?
terrible for a wide receiver and a running back, but they're not 464
5'9" is a
pounds.
bad day for Rich Eisen. Well, I mean, yeah. There's how many?
25-inch vertical.
How many slower than 6.0 40s are there in the history of the combine? Probably a handful. Maggie, you ran a 6.
Rich Eisen's fastest time, by the way, is 5.97.
Hey,
I did run a sub 6.
Yeah,
there it is.
He did run it in a suit, as he always does.
I ran it barefoot, which was a mistake.
Yeah, that sounds like an awful idea.
Retrospect. Anyway, Tush Push Terminator, wishing you good luck, buddy. Big Des.
What's his name again?
Desmond Watson from the University of Florida.
Sure.
There you go.
Yeah, there's only one possible Tush Push Terminator. His name is Roger Goodell. So we'll see what he does.
Yeah.
So what do you got? What do you guys want to see tonight? Is it going to be boring? Is it going to be exciting?
I'm going to be watching the New York Knicks.
Oh God. Well, that'll be a rock fight. Those two teams, right?
I think the question is about Shedeur. I've told you guys I'll buy everybody breakfast if he is past 21 with the Steelers. So I'm glad I didn't, blow my whole allotment for the week, because now it's looking like I probably will be wrong about that, but I'm holding out hope. I think Shedeur is going to go top 21.
Burrito, please.
So he's still
Fresh
minus
OJ.
He's don't worry, EJ. We'll get your OJ. But the thing is he's still minus 750 to go in the first round according to DraftKings. I mean, that's incredibly juiced odds. So
I would update those odds. I'm curious if that's not falling as the morning goes on and the reports come out.
What about you?
I have compiled. There are 3 mock drafts I love, and you probably can predict who they are. Peter Schrager,
I know you love.
ESPN, Daniel Jeremiah, who we had on yesterday, was awesome, and Josh Norris, formerly of Roto World, who's now at Underdog Fantasy. I combined them. I'll give you the top 10 real fast.
Go ahead.
This is not me, really. Cam Ward, 1, done, right? Travis Hunter, 2, done. Abdul Carter is already looking at real estate in New York. Will Campbell seems like 4, despite his little tiny arms. He can barely even pick up a glass of water. Ashton Genty, 5. Are we buying that? Jacksonville?
I guess.
I feel like that's happening.
Yeah.
I got Membu to the Raiders at 6. Sorry, EJ, I know you want him.
Damn it.
Ooh. 7, the other tackle who's super hot, Banks out of Texas, right, to the Jets. Jalen Walker, 8 to the Panthers. Peter Schrager had the Saints taking Mikael Williams, a defensive player. And then that means Mason Graham falls to the Bears. But it does feel like I've looked at these mock drafts. It's all tackles and guards. It's not going to be sexy.
Yeah, but you know what? That's fine, and you can't get that every year. But as you know, it's funny, as someone who does this for a living, you want quarterbacks and wide receivers and all that stuff. But as someone who loves football, I love it when my team takes an offensive lineman. I love it when my team takes a defensive lineman, because I know that that's going to ultimately be what they need.
Yeah, the Bills, did they go tight end and wide receiver in the last 2 drafts, by the way?
Yeah, they did.
What about the Cowboys?
That's because they did so well drafting already their linemen and tackles.
I would do show bet. I'm curious. This Cowboys doing something exciting. What was the word? Substantive trade talk?
Yeah, they were having substantive trade talks, which we said, cool story, Jer.
Yeah,
I don't think that's going to happen.
They're walking away with an interior offensive lineman and nothing tomorrow. They're going to be boring because they've been boring for 8 years.
Although Dianna Russini did say they were looking really closely at Matthew Golden, the wide receiver from Texas. You know, Jerry loves a guy like in the backyard type.
He doesn't, though. He does not get to say. That's I think. I want them to take Matthew Golden. He's amazing. They just take tackle, guard, tackle. They're going to draft this kid, some guard. I guarantee it. I just think
But you can't kill him for it. They're drafting at 12, and you're trying to get your offensive line better. Now, granted, you need to be able to stop the run, but they also have to run the ball. They keep telling us they want to.
Well, you're right. Of course, from a football standpoint, but as a content fan or just a football fan, as Daniel Jeremiah said, I remember when Jerry used to be bold. We need that he needs to shake it up tonight. That will deliver.
And back when Jerry used to be bold, we had Peter King on, who, if you missed our interview, podcast, rewind function, it's all there for you in the Odyssey app. they were fighting over who could get to Paxton Lynch fast enough.
Yeah.
I mean, John Elway was the one who took Paxton Lynch. It didn't work out. And that ended up being a blessing in disguise. They got Dak Prescott in the fourth.
No,
round.
I mean, the famous one, he wanted Johnny Manziel, and they wouldn't let him, and they took Zach Martin, Hall of Famer. They did get, that was the draft. They got Dak, right? Yes. No, I'm not saying it's not smart to take a guard. I'm just saying, don't you want to see the Cowboys come out of this with a headline, Maggie?
How about this side bet? They show Tom Brady in the war room of the Raiders.
That would make sense.
I think so. EJ Stewart, thank you so much. Manny Rodriguez, thank you. Andrew Bogusch, good to have you back. Andrew Kaplan, all over it. Thank you to Dianna Russini, Nick Kostos, Peter King, and the Weedos and the Coffee Drinkers. Enjoy the draft.